my framework for judging the modern world. It's kind of how the guy couldn't be more correct. I don't even know the name of the person who wrote it quite. I'm not entirely sure, but it's a brilliant observation, and it's happened in our lifetime, you know?
Do you think that and we'll get into it, but my
Yeah.
takeaway from the article was it's a in a microcosm, it's a perfect example of where
Yeah.
we're at as a country.
Yep.
Do you think that in the same way the people the delusion that people actually think that January 6th was a coup is a
Yeah.
perfect example of the delusion that
What
they're like like half our country actually thinks that
Yeah.
a bunch of people
Yeah.
without guns
Storm
and
the
bombs
yeah.
and didn't start a fire stormed the Capitol. They never ask what they never ask how they got in. Like why didn't they? Why wasn't the Capitol surrounded? Why didn't they bring out the water cannons? Why didn't they pepper spray these people? Why didn't like?
Yeah. And
But
then you see the
they
video and you
actually think
find
that the
out
U.S. government was gonna fall because a
yeah.
bunch of people in pajamas entered
Yeah.
the U.S. Capitol.
It's idiocy. It's part of the larger point. It's a great example. In there are a bunch of individual lessons that are really, really kind of pointed. For example, reification, or what Greg now calls, he loves this, the mind projection fallacy. This of confusing the mental map you have of how reality works for reality itself.
Yeah. Yes.
And
Yeah.
so we have people right now, we're living alternate realities in this country, and that factual schisms, there's a famous quote by Tip O'Neill. I don't know, should we get into this? Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
Oh, all right, right on. So there's a famous quote. I think it's Tip O'Neill who said, everyone's entitled to their own opinions, but they're not entitled to their own facts.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
everybody kind of throws that around. But for a while, we've been a country headed for separate facts. And a big part of that is what we're witnessing, and it runs through all of this, is the collapse of traditional media. And so you've got everything is moving, internet kids, those of us who grew up with the internet have become, our consumption of media is largely in front of a screen. Mine is. I don't watch TV, almost never. In fact, I don't even the only time the TV goes on is if there's some kind of major sporting event
Mm.
that the missus or I, like, she wants to have the Kansas City game on in the background. That's the only time it goes on.
The
And
football.
yeah, for a football game
Yeah.
or a hockey game for me. But otherwise, news is a non-factor in my life. I don't have it on in the background. I don't have it at all. I don't see the news. And so you start to notice, and it's been coming for a while, this split, this kind of break in our sense of reality. It comes up in all kinds of ways. Like, it's why some people now, myself included, find Saturday Night Live unwatchable. It's because Saturday Night Live has a set of facts. Part of humor is supposed to be revealing truth, but you
Mm.
can, if your sense of irony is keyed to something and you've got it 180 degrees wrong, you look like you don't sound clever. You look like a moron.
Right.
It's not funny. You're like, that guy's a douchebag. Like,
Dale, what's a perfect example of that? Tony Hinchcliffe's joke about Puerto Rico being a floating island of trash. I didn't
yeah,
get that. I didn't get that joke, and
I didn't either.
I thought it was just a funny dig at Puerto Ricans, just
Yeah,
like and he attacked everyone, right? He attacked
right.
the Jews and the Palestinians. He attacked everyone,
Yeah,
which is cool. That's what comedy's supposed to be. But if you Google Puerto Ricans trash, there's an
yeah,
NPR article, and per capita, Puerto Ricans make the most trash out of any people in the United States. And
yeah.
so that the joke was from a National Public Radio
Right,
article from 2019 about, hey, why do those people produce so much trash? Right. But I didn't
right,
get the joke. And
right,
obviously, most of the country didn't get the joke because they
right,
didn't realize that they actually do have a trash problem.
right. You have to have the same.
That's what you're referencing, right? If you don't,
Yes.
if you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a case of where you don't have the context, and so the joke, not only in this case does it miss, now people are calling the guy a racist and
Right.
everything else, and it's
Right.
like, No, you're missing the joke because you're not in on the set of facts that are necessary to get it, and there's a lot of that now, a lot of it. And that's why and the other part of it is, it used to be that we could only consume media as a nation. In other words, there were 3 channels. I mean, you're old, you and I are old enough.
Yeah.
There are only 3 TV channels, like,
Yep.
I mean, you got the same news. You just got it with Walter Cronkite's voice, as opposed to, or you got it with, Harry Reasoner's voice, and somebody else got it. That was the only difference.
ABC, NBC, and CBS. And then we had like maybe 1 or 2 local stations. Like you had to adjust you had to adjust the ears. But yeah,
you had a PBS channel, and then eventually we got a few more UHF channels. We got.
Oh yeah, with all the cartoons.
Yeah, with cartoons,
Brady Bunch, and yeah. We in the Bay Area we had
sitcoms,
44, which was channel 12, and then we had channel 2.
Yep. Yeah, we had about 5 or 6 eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so. God, do you remember that? And you had to get up and turn, and the knob would go. Clunk.
Hey, my dad had a UHF antenna. He probably won't want me to tell this, but Dad, I love you. I don't. This is funny, but my dad got a rotary antenna for the roof, and he installed that thing, and that was like my dad's prized possession. Like, and the kids were, and it was one of those ones where you went up and it had a knob on top of the TV, and you would turn it like 7 clicks. It had like 360 clicks kind of thing. You know what I mean? Or maybe 60 clicks. But so you'd go like, of course, as a kid, I just wanted to spin it to hear it click.
Hey, and it wasn't electronic, right? Was it manual? When you turn it, you had to like force the antenna to turn?
No, you would turn it and it drove an electric motor, and you could hear it like, you could hear it turn a piece of metal,
Wow.
And you could hear that thing go, and you'd get better reception. It was up, my dad put it on the roof. And I just remember, like, we were not allowed to touch that antenna, and so on the days, and this is before I had even started going to school. My sister was in school and I wasn't. So I was like 4 or 5. And I wanted to touch that. I had to memorize exactly where to put it back, because God forbid he found out that we had turned his antenna.
And you know what else was crazy? We'll get back to Afghanistan in a second. You could either buy like a $500 antenna, or you could just take a piece of wire and unscrew those screws. Yeah, or coat hanger, and just screw them in. And you would just drag the wire across your living room, and you'd be like, damn, this is some good reception.
Yeah, I tell people that I have a permanent crick in my neck to the right from having to stand off to the right while holding the aluminum foil so that we could watch the Bruins.
Yeah.
Because that was the only way. For some reason, if I stood, do you ever have to do that? Depending on where your own electrical field would interfere with the TV, you'd get close and it would get staticky.
You used to be able to hit the TV and get better reception. You able to hit the TV.
Yeah, that seemed to work well. Smashing electronics.
Yeah, no one ever hits TVs anymore.
Yeah. I know. It's weak. I just want to go by and punch the TV just so it doesn't get cocky anymore.
Okay, so there's a we're living in different realities.
Yeah, this ties into what Greg's doing. It's what I'm doing. Our legal work. I mean, we are witnessing the collapse of government institutions, a bunch of institutions, government and non-government, although it's become increasingly apparent that the media simply is a government institution. That's just another government entity at this point. And so all of that's collapsing in real time. The experts, have turned out to be, and that's really what that piece is about. It's the Afghanistan debacle that withdrawal was fundamentally the crystal bowl of examples, of imagery of just how crappy government and experts generally have gotten. But you could take COVID and the handling by the FDA and CDC. You could use that as an example. I mean, there's almost too many to, the media's handling of the Russia hoax. I mean, all of it. January 6th. I mean, pick some example of an institution that's supposed to and pick your particular issue. And even no matter which side of the issue you're on. So, for example, if you're a Black Lives Matter person, tell me about how well media has handled that from your perspective, or you know what I mean? Like no matter what side of an issue you're on, you can't help but arrive at the media is wrong almost as a matter of course. You can assume the opposite. You probably get closer to what's really going on. I mean, we're living very much like what the Eastern Bloc countries lived in the late 80s, kind of bicameral reality. I mean, all kinds of crazy shit.
Thank God there's the resources out there so that when the media is telling you that Derek Chauvin killed Rodney King, if you want, you can go pull up his autopsy report and you could see that he had 3 times the lethal dose of
George, I think you mean George Floyd.
Who did I say?
Rodney King.
Oh.
Nice to mix that 90s thing right in there.
Sorry.
But I mean,
Wow.
it's funny though, right? It's linked
Right.
in your mind.
Yes.
That's not
Yes.
I mean, that's a Freudian slip, but it's
I
the
wonder how many
perfect.
times I've done that. Thank you for catching that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So at least people can go and be like, okay.
That doesn't matter though. Don't fall for that same fallacy, the thought that if I just corrected other people factually, that'll solve the problem. You know what I mean? That doesn't.
Yeah, and why doesn't that work?
A bunch of people have said it a bunch of different ways. I think it was Mark Twain. You can't reason a man out of an opinion that he didn't arrive at with reason in the first place.
And that's what's this whole Nazi that's fascinating to me because all these people keep telling all my libtard friends are telling me now it's crazy. People who I never thought in a million years like that. At some point, the accusations get so crazy. Like, Hillary Clinton is really a lizard person.
Like, right.
Like, you know what I mean? I put the brakes on. I'm like, hey, dude, I'm not doing that. Oh,
yeah.
But they're trying to tell us that Hitler's a Nazi when the entire premise of the left is based on fascism. It's to take away individual rights and give them to groups based on race. And I'm like, hey, dude, here's the wiki. I send him the wiki article.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's not going to change.
Republicans do not care.
Yeah. I used to fall for that too. It's that funny picture, of the guy, like there's a guy at his computer and he's looking really earnest and he's yelling over his shoulder. There's a little comment bubble and it says, hold on a second, honey. There's somebody talking shit on the internet. I got to correct them. Like,
yeah.
Like just take it, imagine you're not going to convince anybody that way. And so all it's led to is just people screeching more and more loudly.
Hey, is the difference between is the difference not the difference, but is fascism is the ideology and Nazism is when the group that you're trying to preserve is the Germans, but using the fascist ideology. Is that what a Nazi is? It's basically in a nutshell, if we could agree, the definition of fascism is when you want to take away the rights of the groups and give them to an individual based on race or ethnicity or some category. So is Nazi basically like they're just trying to get rid of everyone and keep the Germans, but it's using the fascist ideology?
No. Here's the thing. There's people using these words all different kinds of ways now, and it's like the word racist. It's impossible to get your hand around. But so you have to have some pretty good definitions, and the poli-sci ones are now. Socialists don't want to be associated with claim to be on the left, and they don't want to be associated with Hitler.
Socialism and fascism are the same thing, when I look at the wiki definitions.
Yeah, they're both collectivist ideologies, and it's just the degree to which the state controls things. In communism, it's the state controls everything, but then the state is supposed to wither away, and then we're all going to have the wonderful utopia of the proletariat where we're all going to agree on everything. It's the stupidest thing you've ever heard, but people can't get past it. And then the lighter version of that is sort of the Marxist socialism is we're going to vote our way into it. So it'll be so much better, which of course is just the tyranny of the majority. That's just, hey, if 51% of us agree that we can beat the dog shit out of the other 49%, that's totally legit. And that's not good.
That's what the South wanted to do, right? They wanted to vote. They use their voting to keep blacks as slaves. And a matter of fact, they passed a law in Congress that you couldn't use the word slave in Congress. Did you know that?
Which I didn't hear the beginning part of that.
That's what the South wanted to do. The South wanted to vote to keep blacks as slaves and be like, well, that's democracy. We voted them in as slaves. And then when the North was like, hey, let's you can't do that according to the premise of or the foundations of our liberty. But did you know that they even passed a law you weren't allowed to use the word slave like for 50 years or something like that in Congress?
Yeah, I'm not surprised by that.
Yeah, they tried to censor what you could say in Congress so that people wouldn't bring up the discussion. You had to use some phrase instead of like slave.
Yeah, that's none of that surprises me. Nothing, there's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah,
But no, so the fascism, the difference between fascism and socialism, again, remember Hitler's party was the German words are for our national socialists. But the socialists hate being associated because they're like, no, 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 this is the whole, no, no, that he was a right wing, it's a right wing thing. But fascism differs only in the fact that and it's close to what we have now largely. And socialism always devolves into that because at some point the socialists realize that they have no idea. Government employees realize they have no idea what they're doing, and so they need some companies, and so that's why everything consolidates into these large monopolies, and that's easier to control than a country filled with a million small businesses. It's far, far easier to control a company where basically you've got a handful of mega corporations, and you just make sure that the owners and the people who run those corporations are good party members, and that's how that's done. That's how that's always done. So in point of fact, there is no distinction between them. They always devolve into the same, and you could say that, well, it's really oligarchy, and the problem is you get people arguing about whether the problem is the government or the corporations in that analogy. And the answer is it's both. They're both immoral. The fact that politicians can be bought is a big problem, but it should be surprising to no one. The whole system was supposed to be built on the premise that we know that people are generally, politicians particularly, crooked. And so you try and design systems to thwart that and protect the most important minority, the individual, the single citizen. That's the whole premise of the Constitution's supposed to be built on that notion that the most important minority is the individual,
right.
not the group. Not the group. And the only thing the neo-Marxist, new, dehydrated, reconstituted version is now just taking that same, and it was done. You can see the intellectual history if you really care to look into it, but it's just applying it to race. And now, rather than making it about class, which is what traditional Marxism does, it's been used to the sort of original sin of the white man, is the American experiment. The original sin of the American experiment is slavery, and therefore that wedge has now been used. That was talked about openly as a Soviet technique back in the 60s and 50s. It's worked wonderfully well.
Let me give you a couple examples, and let me see what you think about it. So it's kind of like the hierarchy of the protected class. I'll give you two examples of how devious these protocols are. One of my friends works at a university, one of the biggest universities in the country. He works in the finance department. He said that if they're going to do an event and they're going to get porta potties for the event, they have a policy in place that says you have to first get bids from, and then it's this order of protected class, the order. So at first you have to find contractors who are women and like lesbian. Right. And then it's like women and black. And then it's like, and then there's like 3 or 4. And then finally, they don't say it, but the only thing left is white man. But you have to actually get bids in that order.
The closest surrogate for white man in that list is, and I don't agree with any of these preferences, by the way, and that's why and my wife doesn't understand why I don't want the veterans discount. I don't want any of that. I don't want any special government privilege for belonging to any group. You know what I mean? Not veterans either. I don't care. It's not
interesting.
Yeah. I don't want I don't want the 10%. All of it feels wrong to me. All of it. In any attempt by the government to subdivide its citizens and give away candy based on your participation in some organization, whatever it is, it's all wrong.
And then on the other hand, we have these schools actually, instead of so if let's say we had a school and we had a program that was for advanced students, right? It used to be, okay, we're going to save, if there's 10 kids, we're going to save 4 spots for black kids. Now what they're doing is they're like, we're just going to get rid of the entire program because not enough blacks are in it.
Hey, that kind of
And so
malice. You may
yeah,
not remember this across.
crazy. And I'm thinking, Greg said it to me. He goes, the only person who gets hurt are the 2 black kids who are in the program.
Right. Of course. Hey, this is it's we have this kind of insanity everywhere. You may not remember this from CrossFit, but we had a huge issue, legal issue, with the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that thing has been used as a weapon, a cudgel. And I say this as a guy who's got a case pending where I am, filed under the ADA on behalf of a client. So I'm well aware of how it's supposed to be used, what it's supposed to be used for. But the concerns, I remember when it came out, I was in law school. The concern was always that, hey, these requirements could be used as a weapon. And it did. If you didn't have bathrooms, like for a CrossFit gym, you had to have an ADA compliant bathroom, right? You're like, I'm a gym. Well, you got to have it for people in wheelchairs so they can come in. Okay, well, what's that going to add in costs and all that? And so you're importing all these infrastructure costs onto small business owners to make it like this is how it has to be, right? And it's like, and then what happens? There were people known for this to go into places in New York City. Lawyers would get these sort of professional litigants who would go in and be like, oh, there's no, going with a wheelchair. I can't do this. I can't do that. Come out, sue. The get a settlement out of the owner or make it so that like the owner has to shut down. I mean, it's ruined businesses. And we wound up with that same issue where we were providing, I forget what content, and all our stuff was free. But there was an issue about, well, it's not closed captioned. And so if it's not closed captioned, then, and I remember the Khan Academy had to pull everything. So it's like, if you don't make it for everybody, nobody can have it. And
Right.
so if we can't learn calculus because it's not closed captioned for us on the internet, then fuck you, nobody gets to. You know what I mean?
There was a business
it's the politics of spite.
When I was a kid, I remember there was because my dad owned these 2 properties in Berkeley on the street, and there was a business that was closed down because they couldn't afford to build a wheelchair ramp for access to this store. And so the store was closed down.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, holy shit, this is some crazy shit.
Yeah. One small group of people, you can't find a workaround because they can't get in there. And you'd think, well, geez, maybe we could find a workaround, or something, especially with the internet. Maybe we could have the stores, things listed in like they did with COVID. We could have delivery. Hey, you just come up there and we'll bring it out to you.
Right.
Whatever it is, you know what I mean? You'd think there'd be some kind of workaround, or at least some acknowledgement that, this is what it's going to be. But instead and if you decided as a society, like, okay, no, we're going to do it. We're going to make it so that everything has that. You go, oh, okay, well, isn't that what our taxes should pay for?
Right.
Like
right.
maybe we could just do that. The business wouldn't have to do it. Instead of sending, I don't know, $40 billion to Ukraine, maybe instead we could have ADA compliance and the government would be the one to do it. That way we'd know it was compliant. You'd be doing it. And it would be on the government to make those facilities available, and the businesses would just be like, hey, we're just here, and you'd make it easier. But like, try talking in terms of spending tax money reasonably on things for your citizenry, and you get people losing their mind. No, we got to be sending blood and treasure to Ukraine, and we've got to have 200 military bases around the world. And what will the Japanese do if we're not there? And NATO, it's like, hey man, that shit costs money. I don't know if you know, but bombs aren't cheap.
What happened in Afghanistan?
Hey, I told someone, you didn't have to be a general. I'll give it to you in like as easy as you can understand how bad.
Let me plug one thing. On Friday, I have a guy coming in. He won't be on the screen. It'll be audio only. And he was there. Yeah. And he has his job.
I don't know at the evacuation.
Yes.
Okay.
And his job on the base was every morning to drive around the perimeter of the base and collect all the dead babies that had been thrown over the fence and put them in a bag the night before.
I'm sorry to laugh.
And every morning there were dead babies, and some mornings there were live babies, like half alive.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's going to be a crazy interview on Friday. The shit he said he saw there. Okay, so what happened in Afghanistan?
So look, you don't have to be You did not have to be an expert on military anything. You didn't have to be any kind of trained on tactics to know that giving up, all you had to ever do was just fly into Kabul once. And if you flew into Kabul and just looked out the windows as you were coming in, it would be immediately apparent to you that giving up Bagram, the military airfield, just by where it sits in that valley, you didn't. All you would have to do is just look and be like, "Oh, well, that's idiocy." Yeah, I mean, all you would have to do is look. The airfield, Bagram Airfield, that place was a bustling airport. I mean, when I was there, it was on a par with the Berlin airlift. Somebody could probably pull the numbers. We probably brought in as much. There were flights into Afghanistan. I mean, you could get a civilian flight into Afghanistan, into Bagram. I did that once. I was defending a guy, Air Force guy charged with idiot stuff. I got him acquitted, but I had to go out to Afghanistan to defend him. And so I had to fly into Bagram, as they wouldn't let me come on a military helicopter, even though I was a reservist at the time. But anyway, so you could fly into Bagram. It sits up the valley, up the slope from is that Bagram? Yeah.
I think so. I just typed in Bogam and it came in.
Yeah, it was massive, massive. The amount of air coming in and out of there on a regular basis. And it sits, if you look at the wider geography, if you pull up like an aerial view of Kabul and then zoom out just on Google Maps, you can see where Bagram sits, and it sits up the valley above Kabul. And so it's got the high ground, and it was also, a complete military base. So if you were going to do an evacuation, if you had any idea in your head we're leaving, the idea that you would give away Bagram first and then flee down to the low ground and the unprotected. Yeah, there you go. Yep.
God, it's huge.
Yeah. And so Bagram's massive. And then as you scroll out, it sits northeast, I think, of the north, almost due north, more north than downtown Kabul. Scroll into Kabul. The joke used to be, if you flew in from the outlying areas when we would fly into Kabul, the joke was that
God, the airport's almost as big as Kabul.
Yeah, it is massive. Yeah. Kabul, the joke was that when you would fly into Kabul, they used to say, right after Karzai got elected president, and he was the president of Afghanistan, everybody used to, the outlying Pashtuns used to joke, they used to call him the mayor of Kabul, because Kabul is mountains all around it. You have to spiral down into Kabul. It's surrounded by the Hindu Kush, massive mountains, 15, 17,000 foot mountains. And so Kabul's cut off from the rest of the country. And so the idea that you would give up the airfield on the top of the thing, there you go. Yep. That's a good look at it. Yep, that's to the looking east, I believe.
So we basically did we build that airfield?
The Russians left a lot, and then we obviously, brought in the American capability to build. And massive buildup at Bagram. So anyway, anybody who gave up that airfield, you wouldn't look at that and think to yourself, like, if somebody, I don't know who it was, ultimately, it goes to the top. I mean, Biden has to take responsibility for it, but the generals who were involved in that, there's no way anyone who could look at that decision and go, we gave up Bagram and then had to do an evacuation out of Kabul. You wouldn't just say, oh, whoops, and make that kind of mistake. You know what I mean? That's not a, oh my God, how did I left my keys. Like this is the kind of thing that you're like, somebody needs to be dragged out and shot for that.
Because
that's
the
kind of decision that's not, if you can't see that, you shouldn't be leading drunks to happy hour, much less a multinational force. Like if that hasn't, and any general, if Biden told them and overrode and told them, I am ordering you to do it, I don't give a shit, and that's the way it's going to be, get them out now, give up Bagram, blah, blah, blah. If it was made at that kind of level, any general who was like, well, I'll just make the best of it, and you didn't publicly resign and make a big snit about it, you don't have a hair on your ass. You're not worthy of the rank you hold. And so ultimately, no one took responsibility. And to bring it back to that article I sent you, that Farewell to Bourgeois Kings, just a brilliant article. The guy who wrote that, uh, yeah,
So
I
the biggest
mean,
planes in the world could land there.
yeah, and did. I mean, I landed in. I mean, you see him taking off all day long. Yeah, Bogam could handle, yeah, to anything, and Kabul did too. That I saw one of those the largest plane in the world, one of those massive Russian planes, but like the wheels alone were crazy. And when it landed there, it left some. It's so heavy, it left some creases in the runway. I think they had to go out and do some work on the runway from that thing. But massive, massive plane. But yeah, so you gave anybody who gave that up, it's amazing that nobody even got fired for that. No one lost their job. No one even thought to stand up and take responsibility and go, that's on me. I'm in charge, and resign in shame, or nothing like that. And all of that brings us back to that point we started with, which is we're witnessing the collapse of experts, government, entities that we were told the central premise of the liberal order for the last 90 years, 100 years, has been this whole managerial, bureaucratic expertocracy that's going to, bring us to utopia. And it turns out that's all bullshit. And the public's getting to see that now. Institutions are getting pantsed on a daily basis. From elections to you name it, it's all fugazi. It's all fake.
And this is China over
don't know
here.
shit.
This is China.
Yes.
And what Trump is saying is that it was our closest base to China, and that somewhere 1 hour within the border, I don't know if he's talking about driving or flying, is the largest nuclear manufacturing facility in the entire country of China.
That's probably true. If you zoomed in, so if you look, Afghanistan actually touches China. That little piece
right here.
Yeah, that little piece that sticks out, and that's where the Uyghurs largely are from. We tried to repatriate some folks. You can see it's that little thing that sticks out, the little chicken neck.
This.
Yes, that all sticks out.
I had no idea. That's crazy.
Yeah, and so the people there, like nobody wants to claim them. We tried to give back some Uyghurs, and the Chinese were like, "No, those aren't ours." And then we tried to give them back, and the Afghans were like, "Nope, not ours." And these guys are like, "Well, wait a minute." Like I live here, near Kali Mafushad. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
There's no infrastructure. There's no road network.
Oh, bro, when I was in Afghanistan, this was in 2004. The brief we got was that there wasn't 40 miles of paved roads in the entire country. They were still trying to build the ring road when I left, to a road to join Kabul to the south, which is wide open. It's a wide open desert, but it's
look
harsh
at this
country.
city. Look at this city, Bazi Gunbab, and it's just yurts.
Dude, it's all just
crazy.
They haven't invented the slanted roof yet.
Dude, some of these cities don't even get pictures.
Yeah, it's because there's just a stack of rocks. There you go. That's what's there. Hey, you go places sometimes and you're like, you think to yourself, wow, there's no human hand or foot has ever been on this spot. I had this exact experience. I was like, we're somewhere there's never been a human ever. And then I looked off on this hill. We're out in the middle of nowhere. And some guy goes, look, and there's a pile of human shit. And you're like, oh, all right. Well, I guess so much for that.
Afghanistan touches China like Joe Biden touches little girls.
Nice.
Jay Antov 124 or
yes, that's the Antov. Yep, that's the aircraft. That giant Russian one, huge, massive.
These are these places that I've heard stories. Mill guys tell me stories where they land in helicopters, and they look like they landed in a biblical scene, and dogs come running at them, and they shoot all the dogs, and then they hand out $100 bills to the people, and the people don't even know what currency is, because everything there is.
I got a good story about that. I read
these places.
Yeah, the U.S. Do you remember that we had this? I got to tell this story. I don't know if this breaks a classification, but it's a great story. So because I don't think this was secret; it was public. Remember, we had that, like, how much we're going to pay for anybody who had information that led to the capture or kill of bin Laden. It was like $25 million at first, and then it went up to 50 million. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
I think it was 25 million and it went to 50 million. But so the US made up a bunch of things to hand out in the tribal areas to try and get this word around.
The U.S. State Department offered $25 million reward for information leading to the capture or death of bin Laden.
Okay, 25 million. So the
and
problem is,
it started at 5 million or something.
Right. The problem is this, and nobody thinks of these things. This is one of those ones you don't know. The water you swim in, your cultural water, much of it you don't even know you're breathing it. And so they made up these matchbooks that had like bin Laden's picture on it, and it was in Pashto, Adari, Farsi.
Oh, sorry. Now sorry. I found another place where it is 50 million. You're right.
Yeah, I thought it went to
Congressmen say the $50 million reward. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So it went from 25 to 50 million, right?
Yeah.
So they printed up. Now they've got to print that in local, Dari, Farsi, or whatever, and they were distributing these, handing them out in the area to kind of get the word out, like let people know, like, hey, you got $50 million, The problem is that the US doesn't understand that in that part of the world, like the average monthly salary to feed a family, a yearly salary to feed a family of 4 is probably about, at the time, it was probably like $40 US.
Damn.
It was like $3 or $4 a month to feed a family. And, in rupees, before we showed up and start doing all kinds of wacky shit, like economy distorting things like money. I can tell you all kinds of stories about people not understanding. But so anyway, they had to translate this. They put it into whatever Pashto, Fari, Darsi, and the amount of money is so large. Like in terms of Pakistani rupees, that's like a quadrillion Pakistani rupees or something. You know what I mean? It's like 1,000 rupees per the whatever. And so the number on there looks so ridiculous. And that people in the tribal areas, so here we are thinking we're like doing this whole psyop and we're going to like get people to get bin Laden by letting, we're going to put a bounty on his head. The number was so extraordinary that the Afghan and the tribesmen, in the tribal areas, they thought it was an insult, that it was like so obviously ridiculous. No country in the world could have that kind of money. That's the stupidest thing they've ever heard. They're gonna buy me Dubai next. They're like, and they thought it was the most ridiculous, idiotic thing they'd ever seen. It had less than zero effect in helping us find bin Laden. It made it harder
because they thought it was that absurd.
It was obviously a joke. No one has that kind of money. Stupidest thing I've ever seen.
The GDP in Afghanistan in 2011 was 17 billion. Yeah. So they were offering you a percentage of the entire.
Remember, it was 7 years before that when I was there.
Oh, okay.
So back that up. Take out all the money we poured in there. Look at the GDP in 2004, and it's more like $11.57.
Yeah, it was 5 billion.
Yeah.
And they were going to offer $50 million. Right. And you didn't even have to bring him. You just had to point. There he is.
Right. Just information. Right. They thought the Pakistanis, the tribes, the Pashtun tribesmen, every single one, and I might have talked to more than anybody, and man, they thought it was the funniest thing they'd ever heard. Oh, right. They were like, yeah, pull the other one. $50 million.
Dude,
like, okay.
In 2002, the GDP was 4 billion.
There you go. Now you're getting closer to. And imagine of that 4 billion, how much of that, what that looks like in the tribal areas. That's 4 billion, 3.999 billion of that GDP is in Kabul.
That's 1/3 the money that Bill Ackerman has.
Right. Right. Elon should just buy Afghanistan. You should make him an offer.
Oh yeah, that's like 9% of what he paid for Twitter.
Yeah. 10%. Yeah, 10%. Yeah, 9%. Yeah. Like 1/11 of what he bought Twitter for.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's when you consider that's considering that Afghanistan's the poppy capital of the world. So it's where heroin's made. And they were only that tells you something right there. People just, I don't know. Anyway.
So you're saying that it was such a that in itself shows how ineffective and poorly run the U.S. government is that one, that we gave up such an amazing piece of property, and now the Chinese have it, right?
Nobody has it. I mean, the Afghans will laugh. Look, the best thing I ever learned in Afghanistan was from some guy on the side of a mountain up at 8,500 feet. and I spoke a little bit of Pashto, not a ton at the time, but enough. And so I'm standing with my interpreter, and I was, like everybody else, kicking over rocks looking for bin Laden. But we're talking to this guy in this village up on the side of this mountain. And the guy turns to my interpreter, and I can see he makes this sort of remark, kind of sneering remark. And I know it's directed to me. I don't need to speak Pashto to understand. And I looked at my interpreter. I went just like this. I go, did he just call me a fucking tourist? And my interpreter goes, stops. And he was like, and he goes, sir, he is a stupid man. He is a very stupid man. Do not, this is a stupid man. I go, no. I was like, and it hit me. I was like, he's absolutely right. I go, we're just passing through. That dude's been living on the side of that mountain with his family and his grandfathers since Alexander the Great came through there. They remember Alexander the Great, You can see the genetic stamp on the Pashtun. People got blue-eyed guys with black hair. That's the remnants of Alexander's army when the Greeks conquered. And they know it. The people are aware of it there. They're fully aware of the guy's uneducated, can't write, you can't even scribble his own name, but he knows that Alexander came through there. But these people have been living on those mountains for thousands upon thousands a year. Like, what are you staying here? Are you moving in? They're like, fuck off, get out of here. It'd be like somebody invading here, to like people in the Louisiana Bayou. Like, oh, you're going to be living here? You moving in?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
The answer is yes.
I mean?
They are invading.
Well, yeah, that's part of the deal. Look at where the immigrants have wound up.
Are you following this in a couple states here? I think Virginia and Georgia, we've seen the states try to pull non-citizens off the voter registration.
Yeah, I'm following all of that stuff.
And the DOJ says they have to put them back on because of, I think the reason they're saying is you can't change the voter registration list within 90 days of an election.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Hey, I got to tell you, I'm biased. So let me give you my bias. One of my law partners is currently a target, a victim. He did some litigation on behalf. Actually, he didn't even, I don't think he signed a single pleading, but he's a very good writer. And so people seek him out for his writing. And so I'll ask him to look over, on a particular subject. He's worked at a lot of big firms and he's an exceptional writer, so he gets requests from people to look over their work, and he's got nothing to do with the issue really, but he, churches himself up on it, and then he'll look over the writing, the briefs, and kind of help with the briefs. So he did that for some of the election litigation in 2020. And he is now 4 years into process defending his bar license. He's one of the people who's been targeted by Mark Elias's Prop 65 scumbags. And so I got to tell you that my view of all of it and what's gone on is where, and I see it down at the, at the level I'm at because of the kind of litigation I'm doing, but we are razor's edge away from the complete loss of the rule of law. We're not that far.
So you're saying that people who in 2020 were filing complaints and lawsuits for whatever
legitimate lawsuits over claims of ballot stuffing and all that
you're
stuff.
Saying that then they are now being attacked, someone combed through their shit and is now attacking them.
Almost Prop 60, this group, whatever they're called, Project 65. It's Mark Elias's group. They made it, their stated purpose was that they were going to go after the law license of any attorney who filed anything challenging the sanctity of the 2020 election. And my law partner is one of those guys. And so, he's gone through hell. Yeah, the 65 Project. There it is.
Is a legal activism campaign seeking to disbar and discredit Trump-affiliated lawyers who worked on lawsuits supporting
Trump. And Trump-affiliated can mean, whatever. What does that mean? What does Trump-affiliated mean? You did something that supported normal election litigation, like that Republicans and Democrats do all the time. They're essentially trying to make it one-party rule where Republicans can't challenge elections. Only democracy means when Democrats win. That's what democracy means.
You know, one of a friend of mine said that they, in 2020 that they were afraid to vote for Trump, and I said why, and they said because I'm afraid I'll be punished for it. I'm like, no one's going to see your vote, and they go, I don't believe that.
Yeah, right.
And I thought that was absurd, but now we've reached a point where it almost is like, hey, if you voted for him, they're keeping a list of all the people who voted for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been headed that way for a while. That's why the other piece that I always like to refer people to. It's one of my favorite. I think it's some of the best writing ever done on political dissidents. But there was a piece by Václav Havel, the Czech dissident playwright who is imprisoned. It's called "The Power of the Powerless," and there's a whole section in there where he talks about. And it's become a famous kind of analogy. You'll hear people talk about Havel's greengrocer, Havel, Václav Havel. And Havel's greengrocer is a section of this piece that he wrote. And he asks, why does the greengrocer keep the sign in his window that says "Workers of the World Unite"? Like, does he really have any care about the workers of the world? Do you think the guy who puts that sign in his door really cares one way or the other about whether the workers of the world unite and who that is? And it's like, no, the sign serves a different purpose. And Havel goes on to explain that the sign is there. It came from the party bosses, and this guy knows that he's supposed to put it up. And the purpose of the sign, it's like, and Havel doesn't use this language, but it's like a warning sign. And what it does is he's showing that, look, I'm the kind of guy who obeys. I know that I'm supposed to put the sign in the window, so I put the sign in the window, and everybody can see that I'm the kind of guy. It's the same as BLM signs,
right
in Portland. If you don't want your house burned,
right.
And so it's
like what people were saying at the Trump rally. It's finally, there's all these people can now finally say that their vote. Finally, the country feels comfortable saying I support Trump without worried about retribution.
Yeah, that's how you can tell things have swung.
Caller, hi.
Hey, Sevan. I want to point out one thing. When these groups are trying to stop people from disputing anything, it would have to involve a repeal of the First Amendment, because the part of the First Amendment says Congress shall make no law prohibiting the ability to petition the government for a redress of grievances. So by telling you can't dispute something, they are trying to take away your right to petition the government. The government doesn't have to do anything about it, but we as Americans have the right to petition the government.
Yeah. Hey, that's very quaint. I appreciate that. That's very quaint. And I'll let my buddy know, my law partner know all about that while he's spending the next 3 weeks in hearings in front of the bar disciplinary committee.
And we've heard now John Kerry, Bill Gates, and Hillary Clinton talk about the needing of the removal of the First Amendment now, just
openly,
just explicitly,
just openly talking.
Yeah,
actually, forget about talk, Seva. Forget about talk. We've had the whole Twitter files, Matt Taibbi and Schellenberg, and all these people have shown that you've got these the Center for Countering Digital Hate. There are government-run organizations and people who formerly worked for the FBI now sitting over at Twitter, and there are all the Stanford Project and Election Integrity Project. There are all these NGOs getting government money, your tax dollars, to censor Americans. I mean, that's going on. I mean, what do you mean talk about censoring? That's ongoing. People don't realize I said this on Brett Weinstein's, I think, Dark Horse podcast a few years ago. And at the time, I probably sounded like a raving lunatic, but I was like, your country's at war with you. Your government's at war with you and with its own people. And it has been for a while. And, like, people will eventually come around to that. They'll get to it eventually.
Sebog, anything else?
Expropriation of property. Like if Elon, do you think, Elon joked on an interview he did on Tucker, but he openly was laughing. He was like, yeah, how long's the jail sentence I'm going to get if the Democrats win?
Right.
He went all in, and now he knows that he's already in lawfare with them. They're already, they took away a permit because they openly said they denied a permit for him to launch rockets off the California coast from Vandenberg because of his Twitter positions and his politics.
Right.
Next will be
said that. They openly said that. I know, that was wild.
Yeah. Yeah, a government agency is just openly like, yeah, well, you know, Trump.
Uh, um, John Kerry, Bill Gates, Hillary Clinton, crazy that they see the First Amendment as a threat.
No, it's not crazy. It's perfectly, of course they do. That's why I said the old media, the old ways that the Clintons controlled. I mean, the media is the way it is. That's largely the result of the Clintons. During the WikiLeaks, if you looked up the Hillary Clinton files and the Podesta emails and all that stuff, there were reporters there who were admitting there were these junkets where like Hillary had all the major press was there and they were being given the talking points by Hillary. That's all in the emails. You can look that shit up, but nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, she got the questions for the debate ahead of time and shafted Bernie in the Democratic primary. The media being a Clinton vessel has been that way since
She got the questions ahead of time.
Yeah, of course. From Donna Brazile. And what did Donna Brazile get out of it? She got a promotion. That's what happened. Real life intellectual, like election interference. I mean, as
It's
our
so brazen. It's so brazen.
Of course it was. She stood there and took the question. They even told her which side of the auditorium it would come from. They told her where it would come from, who it would be. And then she stood there and acted like the whole point of the debate is you're supposed to show how you have command of the issues. You can handle these unscripted questions. And the thing, and now we all know it's all scripted. It's all bullshit. You got moderators fact checking one side and not the other. I mean, it's all of that is collapsing. It's all collapsing. The Rogan interview will be a watershed moment, but I think the fall of Kabul is really when it begins. But
hey, did you hear how Trump said in there? He slid in there. He goes, "Yeah, Sundar called me the other day and was telling me how good my McDonald's videos were doing." He said the CEO of fucking Google called him.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating is, do you know that if you go to YouTube, it is so trippy. You can't even find that interview.
You can't. Yeah, I heard you can't search it by episode number. You can search every other one, but not that one.
Dude, this thing is fucking crazy, dude.
Great. It's great. It's great.
You just type in here Rogan Trump, right? And the video has
it's on the Hill.
It's crazy trending. It's got fucking 30 million views. Look at.
Yeah.
And yet you can't find it.
Right.
You can't find the fucking interview.
Wait, that's top 10 moments.
These are just
you can't actually get the interview.
Yeah, it's fucking absolutely nuts, dude. There it is. Finally, here.
Oh, there you go.
37 million fucking views.
Yeah, that's going to be the most watched. A big part of that will be overseas. That's going to be the interesting part about it. A huge chunk of that will be people outside of the United States.
Hey, what? Why is there a poster of fake boobs behind Dale?
Fake books. Hey, I was clear that those are fake. I made it clear those are fake books. I had another set of fake books, but it's better than this set of fake books is better than the other set of fake books I have. Because back there I have a glass board that's got my clients like lawsuits and dates and all kinds of stuff and plans, and so I that's why I have the fake books up.
Really, JD Vance is going on Rogan next.
That'll be a really interesting one. That'll be fun. Yeah, Vance is a
wow.
That is a former Marine. He'll be the highest ranking. That'll be the highest any Marine has ever reached. If he becomes the vice president, Vance would be. No Marine's ever been higher than, I guess, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff was Joe Dunford.
I'm gonna ask you this question, and I hope you're not going to shatter my image. There's all these people around me. So you know, you have the spectrum of just the far left, just completely delusional, you know, can't define what a woman is.
Yeah.
I mean, just full blown. I mean, to the wiki definition, just full fascist. Just give the government all the power, chop the penises off the kids, see no value for religion. And then you swing all the way over to the right, and you have this other thought that it's like lizard people controlling the fucking world. Right? And somewhere in there, close to that lizard people thing, they believe that it's just it doesn't matter who's elected, it's all the same thing. There's like some sort of puppet master, but I don't believe that. I truly think that Trump is anti-establishment, and when he says things two things. When he talks so honestly, like he did on Andrew Schultz, when they're like, "Hey, how come you don't lie like the other side, make stuff up?" And when I mean lie, I mean relatively lie. Like I think the shit that Trump lies about, I think he thinks he's telling the truth, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, like, and he said,
He's-
"Hey," he says, "Hey, I think we're gonna start in the last 2 weeks. I think we are gonna start lying." Because it's come to that. He basically admits that on Schultz. And then on Rogan, he explains, hey, I didn't even really want to be a Republican. I'm paraphrasing, but it's the only way in because of the way the machine is built. And
Right.
I'm starting to really believe that he is anti-establishment, and that when Elon openly says, I'm going to cut $2 trillion from the budget, that they actually are going to get rid of all the deep state, the Department of Education, shit like that.
He'd be
So
an
what do you
idiot.
think? Do you think it's...
I tell you this. I've had
You think him and Kamala are getting on the phone and laughing that they're pulling the wool over the American public?
No, I don't think and a lot of that is, you have to be careful too. There's a lot of info war going on, and there are many times a common government tactic to disrupt dissident groups is to, like the flat earther thing.
Yeah.
That to me is like a government thing. That's a government op.
Explain.
That there aren't any real people who matter who believe the earth is flat. That to me has all the earmarks of a government psyop, where to discredit some other movement, you create idiotic versions, cartoon characters of things, and then you throw them in with all the other dissident.
This person's right about this, but we need to figure out how to discredit them. So we'll make them also think.
Yeah, they torrent. Yes, you stick them with some other lunatic group, And so I'll give you another example that during COVID.
Okay.
I'll give you another example. I would bet that the origins of there are no viruses, I'll bet that's a government op.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so the same thing with like in the absurdity that, like, obviously the right wants free speech, but and they don't have control over the media, but somehow they want dictatorship when they don't have any. It's just so absurd. They don't have any of the telltale signs of what a dictatorship would look like. They're pro religion, they're pro freedom of speech, and yet for some reason they've convinced the left that. But don't forget, they're also Nazis.
Yeah. Look, this has been going on for a long time. That's how many different presidents, Republicans, have we had that are literally Hitler by the media, and Mitt Romney was literally Hitler. And then after they run and lose to Democrats, then when they sort of get swallowed up in that, that machinery, then suddenly they're statesmen. And now we should look at the left courting Dick Cheney. That's something I didn't see coming. I mean, how absurd is it that Dick Cheney comes out to support Kamala Harris? It tells you everything you need to know.
Dale, I was raised that Dick Cheney was the devil incarnate. I was raised him, Karl Rove, that they were fucking the end of humanity.
Yeah.
And that at all costs, the Democrats, they were the worst.
Yeah. And now Bush, remember Bush, Hitler? I mean, all that. Yeah, and now Bush is a statesman and supporting Kamala. And look, when the whole NPC thing works as a jab at the left, because there's no set of thoughts that they won't hold. It's contradictory to, it doesn't matter if it was yesterday. Look, Joe Biden was totally sharp as a tack, was the best, most presidential. He was on it until everybody could see that he was a slack-jawed dementia patient. And then suddenly he had to go. And then Kamala got installed without nobody voted. I got more votes in the primary than she did, or we got the same amount, which is to say 0, and then she gets installed. And yet, it's the other guy who's the threat to democracy.
For those
democracy is what democracy means, is when Democrats win. That's what they mean when they say that.
Right. Well said. For those people who don't know, NPC is non-playable character. And for those of us who played video games, it's the characters that just move. Like when you played Super Mario Brothers, you started knowing the patterns of the guys as they move. So as you come across the screen, this character's always going to do this no matter what. Or, the character who always runs across the street in a video game when you're driving a car at this point. They're the ones who are just on autopilot. And it is sort of a scary paradigm to start using and projecting on the world, because you start seeing it everywhere. And I guess that's how the CIA and the FBI are so effective with psyops, and that's how they control the world, because they know that there's a good cohort of NPCs who will always react to like the word Hitler, all the non-playable characters. You know what I mean? Like when you walk on the screen in a shoot 'em up game and all the zombies turn and rush
This
towards.
has been going on since Edward Bernays, and there's a whole bunch of these guys. Lippmann was one of them. That's the guy I always point to as Lippmann. But in the 1920s, the idea of sort of large scale control through the use of propaganda was openly discussed and became a weapon of state. And that's been going on nonstop since. The tools of propaganda have never stopped being used. And in fact, the schools are just a part of that. That's all they are.
So do you think Trump is truly Rogan described him as a businessman who likes to make deals. People are describing him as anti-establishment. Do you think that he truly is his own, like he's a how many presidents have we had? Do you think he's 1 in 47?
Well, he was 45, so I guess he'd be 2. He was and probably will be 47. Here's my take on Trump.
Do you think that there's no one else like him who's ever really
he's different in the sense that, yeah, we haven't had if you look at, he's not a Yale guy. He doesn't come from that kind of blue blood. He's more, I mean, people will say, well, his dad gave him a bunch of money, and that's true, but his dad's not a blue blood either. Although he did go to Wharton, he did go to UPenn. He's got the piece of paper from the business school, but the fact is that he's not of that. He's not a Greenwich, Connecticut, old money, Yale-y, like the Bushes are, for example. Like HW was a Yale guy, played first base for Yale. Bush the first. And so he's not that kind of guy. And he's definitely an outsider, but he was a moderate Democrat when I was living in New York in high school.
Right.
And I mean, I remember Trump that's the whole point of like, what's funny about all of this is here's a guy who's got, he's got pictures that Bill Clinton called him personally to encourage him to run. That was part of the whole, the Pied Piper candidates that Hillary's campaign put together. I love that, by the way, that Trump is nemesis created by Hillary. I think there's a karmic justice there that that hasn't been explored and should be. You go back and look at that. Trump was egged on to run for president by Bill Clinton at Hillary Clinton's insistence as part of her campaign strategy, because they thought that she had a much better chance of beating Trump than she did running against the establishment folks. Yeah, that's a well-known, you can look that up. That's been written about in the press, and it came out. That was part of the Podesta emails and all that. So, but the reason Clinton—
You're talking about for the 2016 election?
Yes.
Holy shit.
Yeah, she created nemesis. There's a karma here that's so sweet. It's delicious. It's ambrosia. She created the Trumpenführer.
He says
things,
he says things like when she's like, hey, you fucking avoided paying taxes. And like most politicians would be like, no, I didn't. Or they would be like, taxes are a wonderful thing. And everyone should
yeah.
Like, you're damn fucking right. I did. And I used the laws that and you're like, holy fuck.
That was the thing that Chappelle latched onto.
Yeah.
He said he's the first guy to ever come out.
Liar.
The first one to ever come out and do that. I think Perot would have said that. Perot would have probably said something. I voted for Perot in 92. I liked Perot.
I wish I would have.
And so he was a little ferret, but back when I cared about such things.
It's the same thing with the dictator comment. They're like, what do you say to people who are going to call you dictator? He's like, I will be one on the first day. And it's like, holy fuck. Now they actually like the left has somehow weaponized that.
Yeah. I think that, I tell you what, I think that here's what I think about him. Is he a real agent of change? He may be, but not because he's doctrinally that way. You know what I mean? He's not a doctrinal Republican. The dude was a moderate Democrat his whole life, but that's where the window has continued to slip to the left. And so now a moderate Democrat, what would have been known as a blue dog Democrat in the 80s, like the Reagan Democrats,
well, he's a good guy. He's got that libtard quality of like other really conservative people you and I both know, who he really just wants to help people. Like he's the kind of guy who would walk down the street and pass out hundreds to drug addicts thinking he's helping them. Trump's that guy.
Yeah, there's maybe a part of that. Sure.
You know what I mean? He loves the idea of saving 100 spots in colleges for black people. Like he loves that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the
He
Democrat.
doesn't, there's not a lot of that he does. And that's why I think people have him all wrong. I think he's a savior of the right or the demon of the left. I think people miss him completely. He's just a New York. He just is what he is. You know, he's just a New Yorker.
I like really like him.
Yeah,
Like,
he's a likable guy.
I want to get
Everybody I know who's bumped into him has good and people I would not have expected to. I know someone who worked for him and a person I completely would not have expected. And this person was won over completely. Said he's a genuinely good guy. And I've heard that a million different anecdotes of, you know, something equivalent to that. So I think he's probably generally he's an old school kind of guy, old fashioned, you know, he's a middle of the road Democrat, but who's got, you know, older tendencies like your uncle or whatever. He's still got some old fashioned things. Like he doesn't swear. I've heard that from people. He doesn't like people swearing around him.
doesn't drink, never had alcohol.
Well, his brother, it killed his brother. And so he's not a brother he really loved died of alcoholism. And so he's a teetotaler in that regard, which is fine.
I want to show you something fascinating. So General John Kelly came out and said that Trump said that he wishes his generals were more like Hitler's generals. And what's crazy is John Kelly is a child. He's a child human trafficker. Do you know about this?
No,
this is some fucking crazy. I've never Googled this, by the way. John Kelly, unaccompanied children. This is from 2019. I've never opened this article. This fucking guy has a $360 million fucking contract with fucking Homeland Security for unaccompanied minors. This fucking guy, of course he fucking hates Trump, right? I've never opened this article. This is from 2019. John Kelly cashes in on child separation policy he pushed. You can't. John Kelly was the secretary. This is going to get worse than I even thought it was. John Kelly was the Secretary of Department of Homeland Security when President Trump's zero tolerance policy was under consideration. The chief of staff at the White House when the policy was implemented now is on the board of Caliburn International, which runs the largest facility housing migrant children separated from their families.
Of course.
You can't fucking.
Hey, man,
you can't make this shit up. This is from 2019.
Yeah.
Now the articles he's getting destroyed in the articles. But he fucking traffics. He fucking basically keeps, and then from there you could extrapolate if you want to believe it that there's a ton of child sex trafficking going on. I don't know anything about that except for what I just hear, you know, in little snippets.
Yeah.
But he runs the two largest facilities. He's with the company that runs the two largest facilities in the United States for unaccompanied minors.
You should see what happened. The Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, before he became Secretary of Defense, was widely known for his contacts and he was on the boards of, among other things, a bunch of hospitals, and he owned a bunch of stock in things. And then he came out with this vaccination policy, and some people pointed out that he was pressed about this in his confirmation hearings, and he promised that within 60 days he would execute a disclaimer, you know, disclaiming his interests in all these, in all this healthcare stock and, you know, companies that were tied up that were going to get contracts as a result of the vaccine policy that he was putting into place. And he never did. Yeah. And that he owned stock. And I mean, you could find that if anybody ever did, if we had real journalism, these things would be more widely known. I don't know that it would change anything because it's been this way for almost 100 years.
You're saying Lloyd Austin, who enforced the vaccine, had stock in vaccine companies?
Not vaccine companies, but hospitals that would get contracts to issue the vaccine. Sure. Yeah. They were getting paid for the number of people that companies that he had stock in would be the ones distributing and giving the shots. Yeah. They were going to make money on it. Yeah. And he was pressed about it. And then somebody leaked that stuff and it got out, you know, into the wild. And then there became this hunt to the military started looking into try and find out who leaked that. And so, I mean, this stuff goes on, you know, unbeknownst, blind to the public eye, but it's as dirty as you could possibly. It's way dirtier than you think.
Is the U.S. government still mandating the COVID vaccine? Like I heard to work on Kamala's campaign, you have to be up to date on all your boosters.
Your boost.
Did you know that?
No, I had heard it, but I didn't.
It's on our website.
Yeah.
You
Is it?
Yeah, you have to be up to speed on your CDC vaccination.
Good.
Whatever.
Good. They can have mine. They can have mine. They can have yours. They can take all of them. Take all the extras too.
How is your case going?
Great. They're going great. We're super excited. We've gotten two good rulings, and yeah, I expect this year we'll have some good results. We might, or excuse me, 2025. We might get a result by the end of the year in one of our cases. So, yeah, I'm going to crack the government. We're going to prove we're in possession of a unique fact that I screamed about at the top of my lungs. Nobody wanted to hear. It's unfortunate. Everybody was injected with an unlicensed vaccine. There was no licensed vaccine. There never was. They licensed one, and then it was removed from the market the same day. There never was community. It was solely for the purpose of getting a license. Then it was immediately moved from the market the same exact day. It's the only time the FDA has ever done this. Yeah, of course.
Lloyd Austin was a board member of Raytheon who just ordered to pay over $950 million for bribing foreign officials in violation of the FCPA.
Yeah, that's the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. Yep, of course. Shocked. Where's my shocked face? It's around here somewhere.
There was a great comment in here earlier from Jesus. Damn.
It usually is.
Right. It said it was the person posting is Jesus, and it said you only need one book. Damn, I wish I
could. Nice. Don't need a big stack. Solid.
Dale, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen with Iran? What
oh, I know Greg's got some theories about that too.
Are we going to eliminate their nuclear capabilities soon?
I hope. I thought somebody, a friend recently reached out to me and was like, hey, did you see that Iran had a nuke test, underground nuke test? And I was like, what? And they were looking and like, yeah, it's again, not being reported in the mainstream press, but it looks like Iran detonated a nuke. It was an underground nuke, the seismograph readings and all that. There's some outrage. You can only find it in like international kinds of papers. You might find it in like BBC News and shit like that, but American media is just fundamentally the DNC. So you get whatever they give you. But yeah, it looks like Iran tested a nuke in response to what Israel did, and might be why. Yeah, there we go.
Iran, an earthquake or a secret underground nuclear test. Days after the news broke of the earthquake in Iran's Semnan province, speculation has continued on social media that the tremors were caused by Tehran's first nuclear test. 4.4 magnitude. Hours after the news broke, social media users began speculating that Tehran regime had attempted to conduct its first underground nuclear test, presumably as a deterrent measure against Israel attacks on its territory. Wow. Wow, that's crazy.
I don't know if they have a nuke yet, but the Persians are smart people. It's not like they don't have Persian scientists. It's not like they don't know anything about math.
And one nuke in Israel's gone, right? The entire country.
It depends. I mean, a nuke's. What do you mean by a nuke? Like I don't know where nuke technology is in terms of how much it can obliterate, but is it an ICBM? Are they going to launch one that goes up into space and come back down and drop on Israel? I don't know.
COVID-19 vaccine says it's licensed. Is he saying it wasn't licensed at the time of use?
Yeah, you are, Daniel. You have bought into the psyop, my friend. They're not now. It might be, but at the time when they were saying you've got to take this, and when they first announced on August 23rd, 2021, they were like, "We licensed the vaccine. I want you to go to that vaccine's license. Comirnaty was its name. COMIRNATY. I want you to go to Comirnaty's license, the BLA, the biologics license approval that the FDA grants, and then look at what the start date is and the end date is for the marketing date. When the FDA grants a license, what it's granting is a license for you to market that product for the purposes that you listed in your application. And so And when they do, they give you a marketing start date and a marketing end date. And if you look at Comirnaty, it was licensed on its marketing start date is 23 August 2021, and its marketing end date is 23 August 2021. So it came into the market on 23 August and it was removed from the market the same exact day. That's never happened before. And then the FDA issued a letter for its EUA product, its emergency.
Why did they remove the license the day after?
Yeah, I'm about to tell you.
Okay,
They
sorry.
removed the license the same day because that is a precondition for the grant of an emergency use authorization. The emergency use authorization statute, 21 USC 360 BBB-3, the emergency use authorization statute itself, the whole justification, the FDA cannot issue an EUA unless there is no licensed alternative treatment for the condition. In other words, if there is a licensed product, then an EUA cannot issue. And you can only use licensed product first and foremost. The whole point of the EUA statute is you can only have an EUA if you don't have a licensed product that's already available to treat that thing. So they could not have a licensed product available and grant the EUA. So if you look in the letter, the EUA letter, it specifically says in a footnote 8 or 9, it says the FDA commissioner notes that there isn't sufficient Comirnaty available, and she basically declares it legally unavailable. That's a prerequisite to granting the EUA, the emergency use authorization. And Pfizer always had as a condition of its contract with the DOD for the provision that they were only going to provide product under the EUA because that gives them PrEP Act protection. A licensed vaccine would not have PrEP Act protection. Not at least after a certain amount of time. There's
What is PrEP Act protection?
The PrEP Act is a horrific statute that was drawn up largely at the behest of pharmaceutical companies that essentially takes away any possibility that they can be sued over the physical harms resulting from the vaccine. It basically grants them almost total immunity. So they were never going to take the risk that they could be sued over the injuries caused by the vaccine. And that's why they licensed the vaccine. Everybody made it big. It was a PSYOP is all it was. Military grade PSYOP. They hold this big thing. The FDA announces that we license a vaccine, and then it's removed from the market the same day. The EUA remains in place. It's a regulatory bait and switch. And then they went out and just people were getting the EUA product the whole time. But people were fooled into believing that they were getting a licensed product. They weren't. You were all injected with BNT 162b2.
So the reason why even license it in the first place? Why not just keep it unlicensed and go straight to the Emergency Use Act?
They had been using EUA, but the problem was you can't mandate an EUA vaccine.
Oh.
So you can't mandate an EUA vaccine. You can't mandate an experimental vaccine. We hung the Nazis for that. We stretched the necks of doctors for forcing people to take experimental vaccines.
So they make it legal, get the mandate passed, and then get it unlicensed. Make it licensed, get the mandate passed, make it unlicensed.
So that's
world-class scumbaggery.
So the FDA licenses the vaccine on August 23rd and says, look at this licensed vaccine. On August 24th, the next day, Secretary of Defense Austin announces the mandate saying we're going to use only licensed vaccines. But of course, it's a lie because they have no licensed vaccine. It's been removed from the market the day before. And then what they do is 11 days later.
So that they could get the protection.
Yes. And so then 11 days later, the Secretary of Health and Human, the Secretary of Defense, the Assistant Secretary of Defense for Health and Human Affairs, Terry Aderam, comes out with a letter that says, you can treat these things the same. They're the same. The unlicensed one is the same as the licensed one. FDA says it doesn't present any problem, so you can just use that. And with that, poof, washes away service members' right to informed consent, which is to not be injected with an experimental product. But that's all they had was experimental products. So they just declared them equivalent. And that's fundamentally at the heart of our lawsuit.
Dale has such a thick neck to support that massive brain.
His big head.
He was born with a little pinner.
Yeah, I had a little pencil neck. Big bobblehead, though.
You alluded to the fact that you think Trump's going to win?
Yeah. Yep. Everything I've been tracking. And I have, for whatever it's worth, I do have to have I was up at the Hill and the Senate a few weeks ago. I've got my partners and I have a piece of legislation kicking around up there that we're trying to help, people who got kicked out of the military to get their back pay. And so I have cause to be up there and we've publicly disclosed, we've got lobbyists and all that. So I weekly, in fact, today I'll be talking to them about how things are going there.
Bezos, stopping the Washington Post.
Yeah.
Is that he's scared he's going to lose his government contracts? Is that all that is?
I don't know about government contracts, but I think,
the U.S. government has massive contracts. Billions and billions with Amazon and their servers.
Oh yeah, of course.
Is that all? Is that the only reason? Is that what he's doing? And is that a sign that Trump's going to win?
I think that the left freaking out over it and saying, "Oh my God, this is because he's trying to make nice." I think that they are justified in their freaking out. I think their freak outery is for the right reason,
but I think Bill Ackerman's been red pilled. But I don't think Jeff Bezos has been red pilled. I think he's protecting his money.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't care about. I don't make decisions in my life based on whether I think somebody's had a philosophical conversion that, like, I just,
But I'm just thinking, does Bezos think Trump's going to win? Is that why he's doing that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just a which way is the wind blowing kind of thing. And I'll tell you what that is. And same for Zuckerberg. It's that they have access.
So Zuckerberg is still a cuck. That's what I was thinking. He's a piece of shit.
I don't know if the guy, again, I don't care. I don't speculate about what philosophical conversion somebody's gone through, because you can fool yourself with that kind of stuff. Oh, he said words that I like.
On Rogan, he spoke to Cook also. He said Cook called me the other day. And Rogan Cook, I just got off the phone with Cook, and Rogan goes, when? He goes 2 hours ago. So like all these fucking heavyweights are fucking reaching out to him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's also, if you see, there's talk, he just said something interesting. I don't know, a lot of stuff doesn't get reported. I don't know what people see, but I follow political rags because it's important to what I'm doing right now legally. But he just said that he's not gonna make the mistake he made last time, which is that the government accounting office will only pay for a new president's transition team beginning like at 90 days before you take office. And so Trump said that it was a mistake last time. He said, I'm going to pay for it myself. And so he's already putting together a transition team to be ready so that when the 90 days comes, when the GAO will take over those salaries and pay those people, he's like, fine, but he's going to get them set up first. I've had people, I got a text from someone who said, hey, I put your name in for something over there. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. But I have no desire to work for the government, but I get, I have people who work in and around that. And so they're looking hard. I think RFK is going to wind up being head of HHS. I think we'll wind up being the Health and Human Services. And I can't help but think that that's going to be a good thing.
And what about the Jay Bhattacharya being thrown around as head of the CDC?
Yeah, that would be, I could see that happening. Sure. I don't know. I have no idea if he would take that or not. He
was on here a couple of days ago, and I said, hey, I'm hearing people.
Oh, you had him on?
Yeah, I'm like, I heard people throwing your name around, and he said, yeah, I've been thinking about what I would do. What are the things I would like to do?
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I have friends around those circles, and I know a bunch of people over at CHD, which is Kennedy's, org, or at least it was. I don't know if he's had to sever ties or whatever, but I know his CHD's senior outside counsel is a guy I'm familiar with and occasionally talk to and all that. So yeah, there have been, I think it would be amazing. I think it would be fascinating. And I would love to see a change in the DOJ litigation positions, their interpretations of statutes with a new regime. I mean, that could mean a lot. It could mean a lot for me personally.
This isn't exactly true what I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to paraphrase my understanding of what's going on here. With Trump, from what I've listened to, the podcast I've listened to, he's on, and all the talks and ups, he self-admittedly doesn't have the ability to control the machine. And he went in last time, and that was his first rude awakening. He didn't know all the people in power. He wasn't a Washington insider. He didn't know how the machine worked.
Yep.
And he still doesn't, and he's still not a Washington insider, and he still doesn't know exactly how the machine works. He was basically saying, But I found it, but he didn't, my words, not his. It's irrelevant because what he's going to do now is he's going to take apart huge chunks of the machine. Like we all know that are a farce, like the Department of Education, the Federal Department of Education. Like they don't do anything except beat down the states. They use that $86 billion to beat down the states. And the numbers show it. When it was developed in 1980 by
you don't need to convince me.
Education just fucking plummeted. Our test scores plummeted from the day one it was established.
The DOE is anybody who's read anything I've written, you'll find. I think that the only question, if anybody ever made me the head of the Department of Education, the only question would be, would I give the employees 15 minutes notice before I changed the doors and burned it down?
That's what I was thinking. I would all care about their severance. What kind of severance do you give them? Yeah, right.
I just, dude, it would just be, listen, the fire alarm is going to go off at noon, and I'll be pouring kerosene.
It's not fake.
Yeah, I'll be the guy with the kerosene and the torch. That will be me.
Do you think he's going to be able to drain the swamp?
Yeah, there you go, Pat. Nice. Do I think he's gonna? Look, I think we have problems that are far great. I think anybody who's, I don't want a black pill or whatever. I'm not that kind of guy. But on the other hand, we've got 35 trillion in debt, and but on the other hand, the U.S., the one thing it's always been, the one thing the U.S. has always surprised even history with is its ability, is our economic power. When the U.S. truly unleashes its economic might. I mean, that was the thing that the Japanese noted in World War II. Victor Davis Hanson pointed that out in his book. He said that, a year after Pearl Harbor, there were planes that hadn't been built taking off from runways that hadn't been built on islands near Japan, dropping bombs on Japan, just in a year. And he's like, my dad was a gunner in one of those. So in 1 year,
that's really fast,
bro. Maybe it was 2 years. I don't know, whatever it is, but look it up. But there were aircraft taking off doing the daylight bombing runs of Tokyo.
Yeah,
in 40 whatever. Right. Those aircraft hadn't even been thought of yet.
Oh,
at the beginning of the war. And so within 2 years, the U.S. had, and they were taking off from runways that had never existed on islands that had been Japanese. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How, if you were the Japanese, how could you possibly have defend against a plane that didn't even exist yet?
Right.
You know what I mean? Our ability, when push comes to shove, when the U.S. economy, when U.S. traditionally, it's we are capable of building shit and innovating. And look at what Elon's done. Despite all the clutching and grabbing and regulatory bullshit that guy has to deal with, look at what that guy did. That rocket catch, the reusable rocket, and them catching that giant booster back is an unbelievable accomplishment. Unbelievable accomplishment.
You and I have know some swamp creatures, and we know some of the biggest. In particular, there's one guy I'm thinking is one of the biggest swamp creatures that's ever lived. And you and I have hung out with him a lot, and he's a really nice guy. Even though he's just like you would picture, he's just a pussy cuck. My sons could beat him up, but I'm hearing that he's completely freaking out, like he's seen the boogeyman.
I was with Greg. You
were?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's that's wild, right? Because there is this whole machine. I don't know if it's $1 billion or $100 billion machine, but Trump talked about it in the Rogan podcast, where it's the people who navigate. They collect money and help you navigate through the swamp, right? Through the morass of regulation stuff. Yeah. This guy, and this guy's as connected as anyone. He's probably met with fucking every president, and in probably the last 4 or 5 presidents. Do you think that's a good sign, right? That guy's, I mean, that guy
said he's shitting his pants.
That guy's terrified, like you were terrified, like a little kid. Remember when your feet couldn't be outside the blanket because the monster would come out from underneath the bed? That kind of crazy shit.
Yeah, there are a lot of people who are.
Sounds like he's losing his shit, dude.
Yeah, and again, who knows? A lot of that's in his head. I don't know. I think there are a lot of could he do it? Hey, listen, nobody's a bigger cheerleader for cutting government than I am. it's funny. Somebody said if the government was cut by 2 trillion, that to me, that's not even close to enough.
That was a number Elon's thrown out.
Yeah. Elon said cut 2 trillion, right? Everybody freaks out. If you cut $2 trillion off of where we are now, that would bring you back to the government in 2000. It was 4.2 trillion or something is what the government was spending.
I remember when Reagan had the first $1 trillion budget. It was like,
right. So let me ask you, when in the government in 2000, does anybody think like, oh yeah, it was like libertarian paradise? And remember how free market it was? And like when the government was getting $4 billion, like, do you have any sense in your head of any time in America when you were like, man, there's like there's going to be a massive outbreak of freedom next week, you know? Like I just don't. We've got a lot of people who are dependents. You know, that's not depressing. I just take the world as I see it, you know.
How are you on time? Are you good on time?
Yeah, I'm good. Whatever.
Okay.
And so, like, is it possible, or maybe is there this latent groundswell for freedom that's gonna happen? I don't know. You know, you asked me about the election to talk about that. One of the things I was talking to someone yesterday about, they asked me about what's he doing, like, what's Trump doing campaigning in New York? What's that about? And I'll tell you what I think it's about. I think it's actually a cagey. I think he's a savvy politician. You know, people forget he had a show. I never watched The Apprentice, but I mean, a lot of people did, loved it, you know. And he's the ultimate, he's P.T. Barnum. He's going to win. And it's because he's better at retail politics than the Democrats are. That's why they hate him. That's what the screeching at democracy is all about. He's going to be like, yeah, democracy, bitches. Look, I got more votes. Like I won in all 50 states. Like,
yeah.
And that's why, like, they said today, it looks like New Hampshire might flip for the first time in like however many years. You know, he might win New Hampshire. He's up now there. The Republican governor in New Hampshire is up 4 points. He's also going to carry a bunch of Republicans across the line in the Senate. There's been a realignment of coalitions, you know, and Trump represents the large working majority. He's taken Democratic sensibilities and policies, what would have been middle of the road Democratic policies, and he's refashioned them. He's taken the Republican Party hostage. So yeah, he has done some unique things. And is it possible that he'll just go through there and start slashing things? Yes. But then you get back to the machinery, you know. The other thing is, let me say one thing about the machinery. He's going to be going up against a lot. The problem is it's not just a single machine. What you have are multiple different. I try to tell people you should think about Washington, D.C. politics in light of Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You should watch Washington politics. You should watch Game of Thrones and then just decide who you think in the modern world looks like the Tyrell family, and who is the Lannisters, and who are the Starks, and who are because what goes on there are all these different coalitions of people. It's not a uniform, it's not one giant single monolithic entity, but it's like 10 or 12 different kinds of coalitions of entities that a lot of whom swim in the same direction and are served by the same policies. But when push comes to shove, you start to see the knives come out. Like for Joe Biden, when it looked like he would lose an election, they stuck a knife in his back so fast. I mean, that was like the Jon Snow up at the wall when all his own guys shanked him. You know, Joe Biden got absolutely prison shanked by his own party, who he'd been a loyal stooge for 40 plus years.
Yeah.
And so you'd be remiss to not consider the degree to which there's infighting and all kinds of savagery going on behind the scenes up there that you can't even begin to imagine. But it is that vicious.
But you think they're going to try to kill him again?
Yeah.
It's too much money on the line.
Yeah, I mean,
too much power and too much money.
Yeah. I mean, if I were him, man, I gotta say, I've been impressed. I always thought he was kind of a pussy, and you can't fake what he did when he got shot, you know, and he had the stones to do it. And I think he's an old school guy like that. You know, he's whatever, he's fat, he's sloppy, but you know, you never know how people are going to react. In the same way, you didn't know who the people were who were going to betray you over the vax or whatever, you know, in the same way you didn't know who were going to become the screaming scolds and, you know, and like you're talking about the guy who's shit in his pants. Like you never know until people get squeezed.
I want. God, there's so many things I want to bring up. So I was watching the Trump rally in Madison Square Garden, and there were a bunch of Kamala supporters there, and it was so fucking peaceful between these, 100 Kamala supporters and the fucking 200,000 Trump supporters. If it was the other way around, you never fucking see that. Do you?
Eh,
You would have seen, you know what I mean? If you would have had 200 Trump supporters outside a Kamala rally, they had a fucking blasted. They had a fucking blasted
yeah.
those people. Um, if Kamala wins, I don't think there's going to be riots, but if Trump wins, I think shit's going to burn.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Right?
Of course it is. And it wouldn't surprise me it wouldn't surprise me to see a declaration of martial law. It wouldn't surprise me to see we're not going to be able to, because you know who would
Did you
have
see
to
what the
certify.
DOJ did? Biden just made it so that the US military last month can use lethal force.
Yeah, I've seen that. Seen that
September
stuff
27th
circulating.
or something it passed. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
none of that's a surprise to me.
while they're accusing him of saying he's going to use US troops on citizens, they're passing rules. This is fucking it's nuts.
It wouldn't surprise me to see a declaration of martial law between the election and the certification. And it wouldn't surprise me to see Kamala, the press start floating stories about her not like the indignity of her having to, because she would be the one to have to certify the election. She's the vice president.
Oh
So,
shit.
so it was Pence the last time, and that's why on the right hates Pence, Judas Pence, and all that. But Kamala would have to certify Trump's win. You think she's going to do that? I don't. Do you honestly think
Wow.
she's going to certify that? Is going to go up there and be like, and here I am, and certify Trump as the president? You think that's never got shot? Yeah, I've seen that. Sorry,
What is that? I don't get that. I don't get it.
There are people who said it was all staged. He didn't get shot. I've gone down that rabbit hole. I've read all I'm going to read on that, and sorry, disagree. We'll have to disagree on that one. But I highly encourage other conspiracy theorists to continue to flourish. We all believe crazy shit, and so nobody should be tarred and feathered because
you know what the most compelling
I
evidence?
believe crazy shit too. Everybody does. We just don't admit it.
The most compelling evidence is when I hear him say, "God, I was embarrassed because I lost my shoes and the way my hair looked and I was disheveled." And like I heard him like have a moment of like he was a little embarrassed about it, and I'm like, all right.
Well, he's known to be a fastidious guy. He's like, I'm not surprised by that. He's kind of known to be a wildly fastidious guy. And so he probably did not just being all, I don't think he appreciated, I believe it 100%. I don't think he fully groks yet. But he's still.
Saying Trump's assassination was staged is as dumb as saying the Dems actively tried to.
Yeah, I would say the Dems actively. I'll withhold judgment on somebody. Somebody wanted him dead. I don't believe it was just that deranged guy. I think that guy was probably pushed in that direction. But even if he wasn't.
Jeffrey Birchfield, Trump didn't say anything substantive, in my opinion. I'll give Vance listen. Jeff, I respect the fuck out of you. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Here's the thing that we got with Trump. We got so many peeks behind the fucking curtain that I've never gotten from, like when he tells the Tim Cook story. Did you listen to it?
I've heard pieces of it, not the whole thing.
He talks about how he just got off the phone with Tim Cook, or he talks about how someone called him and told him, the CEO of Google called him and told him how good the McDonald's thing was doing. He talked about Pompeo was telling him, "Hey, I really don't think you should look at the JFK files." He talks about tariffs and the importance of tariffs. I thought it was really substantive, but I'm open to like you explained to me like. Well, some people duped or something. I thought it was just full. I mean, some stories were really long.
Yeah,
but man, I've never heard a president ever talk so just.
Yeah, so
direct down so much. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I think that people don't have the same. Probably this is one of the. Yeah, that's so funny. I think that
I love him, Dale.
Yeah, I know it's weird because I'm a Boston guy, and so by nature I'm required to hate him. That's just he's from New York. He's a New Yorker. I was living there in 86. I was a New England kid living in Queens. And Donald Trump was the guy, and it was the year the Mets beat the Red Sox. My heart was broken. I was a junior in high school. It was traumatic for me. I was so fucking.
You're not even joking.
No, not even a little.
Yeah.
And I was living in enemy territory when the Red Sox lost in 86. It was horrifying. So I'm a New England kid. I grew up in Providence, So I I tell people like he reminds me so much. Trump reminds me so much of my uncle Jeff Nella, who was from. I hope my aunt doesn't hear this. He's dead now, but and they're divorced. But my uncle Jeff was like he was from Flushing, Queens, and he had his own. He had a knife business, and he made knives, and he was a big guy, big, and played basketball, and like he was just like Trump. He would everything was like this. He'd be like, I could do my Uncle Jeff. He'd be like, oh, New York's the best. We got the best everything. We got, what do we got? What don't we have? New York's got everything. What don't we have? Oh, we don't have a fucking desert. California's got a desert. Who needs a fucking desert? It's stupid. We got lakes. We got mountains. We got the Knicks. We got the best team ever, the Yankees. You could see my dad was trying to not chew off the inside of his lip when we would go visit them for Christmas. It was my mother's sister. So my aunt, it was her husband. He was a New Yorker. And so they lived in New York and we would go there. Oh my God. He was, and so Trump comes at me through that filter. But now after living there, and like my stepdad's from New York too, he's like, looks like Archie Bunker. He even has that same accent. And now I see it very, very differently. It doesn't bother me. It's an affect. You have to realize he's always been that way.
So I never liked East Coast men either. I mean,
right.
The prototypical, stereotypical East Coast man. Every time I went to New York, anytime I went to a camera store, anywhere, it was like everyone was always trying to shut.
I know. That's what's so funny for me to hear you talk about Trump, because you hated East Coast people.
Yeah, and sell you shit. And it was just, it was that affect. And I don't know if he has, I don't know if I've changed or if he has, he's a grandfather now and he's sort of relaxed his, it's so great, we're the biggest, we're the best.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just the chopping off of penises of kids in California. I don't know. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not sure what's happened, but I'm so ready for the experiment.
Right.
And I understand why a lot of people are terrified of the experiment.
Yes.
I'm so ready. Like, I want to see what's going to happen when you shut down the Department of Education. I want to see what's going to happen when I'm ready. I'll buy my first American car because he's going to give me a note. He's going to let me do that. I'm ready. Yeah. I'm like, this is how much of a patriot I've become. It's so fucking weird. I think if he becomes president, I think I just might go out and buy an American minivan.
Oh man.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. just cause he puts that
you.
He's totally got me. Yeah, I'm totally. I want to participate in the.
Well, part of it is too, like once you're on this side and you've been getting kicked for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, a big part of it that people don't talk about is, hey man, the American male has been shat upon pretty thoroughly for, I don't know, probably a solid 40, 45 years now. And maybe he had it coming, I don't know. You can make that argument, but it's, the snapback is, might be epic and probably justified, quite frankly.
Jesus, dude, you're just as brainwashed as the liberals are. Fair. All right. Fine. Okay. Andrew Hiller, you had kids. Yeah, maybe
that's nice.
I had kids and Greg.
You got mugged.
Yeah, Greg proposed that idea to me. He's like, hey, maybe the other night he gave me like a fucking 20-minute dissertation on the West Coast male not liking the East Coast male. And you know what it might be too? It might part of it. It's like the bravado and the strength and the crassness and the lack of political correctness.
Yeah,
that we had beat into us as West Coast males, right? Like, hey, you can't use Oriental carpet anymore. It's now Middle Eastern carpet, or all this shit that's just constantly changing for us.
Yeah, I'll tell you what's one of my favorites is. So here's the difference between the West Coast and the East Coast. And I love. This is a stupid dad joke, but I love it. So my daughter was, and
he's a West Coast male.
Yeah, that's funny. That's always the East Coast impression is always that this guy's as soft as baby shit. So my daughter and her crew team were carrying this shell. They were getting ready to race early in the morning this is when Rachel rode crew in high school. You can check this one with Rachel. So they were, and I could see their generation starting to be inculcated with that political correctness stuff. So they were carrying the shell. They got it off the thing and they were all carrying it. And then all of a sudden they were like, oh, wait a minute, we got to switch positions. And so the girls started for carrying the boat. They were like, hey, switch around. And one of the girls goes, Chinese fire drill. And so they all started switching positions to reorient, to carry the boat. And I said, and I was standing there watching them, and then they kind of stopped and looked at me, and I went, "Girls, I believe that's Asian American fire drill." And and the girls were like, and they all looked and got quiet, and then they started cracking up, and then they took the shell and went away. And I mean, you don't appreciate that. I think it was Theodore Dalrymple had a great thing about political correctness and what purposes it serves. But the fact that you have to, Greg, his old man had a great one. The fact that you put political in front of it tells you that it means the exact opposite.
Right.
Politically correct as opposed to what? Like regular correct? You know what I mean? Like
and you've heard the thing with the Russian KGB agent talk about how political correctness was just a psyop the Russians used.
Yeah, people lose their probity when there are things that are deemed politically incorrect, that is, you can't say them, then there's no lie that can't be foisted on you, and here you lose your probity as a people. And I really, Margaret Mead might have said there, somebody like that did. I think
I never knew Chinese fire drill. That's funny. It's considered offensive in North America, and it's a prank in which the passengers of a motor vehicle that is stopped at an intersection get out of the vehicle and circle it and return to their seats. Why do they call it? It shows a state of confusion. It's like saying Chinese people are confused.
I don't know. I always thought it was more like early 1900s. A ship run by British officers and a Chinese crew practiced a fire drill for a fire in the engine room. Nice. There you go. So it's got an origin.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Yeah. It's an Asian American fire drill.
From a Chinese woman. We have a Honda plant here in Ohio. Oh, all right. Maybe I'll buy a Honda. No, someone said the Sienna factory was in Indiana, so I can still buy a Sienna and shit in it.
It's funny. The Japanese have probably invested more in the United States in building car manufacturing here because they didn't want to be like subject to that kind of thing. So and it's funny, a bunch of Ford is made overseas. And so a lot of it is like, we don't have full scale integrated manufacturing the way we used to.
Defund the police and black on black crime skyrockets. Crime in the United States skyrockets. I know I'm forcing that correlation or that cause on the conversation. That's the presupposition. Defund the police, crime skyrockets. Black on black crime skyrockets. Black deaths, young males in the United States fucking skyrockets to all-time highs.
And no, you're not forcing that. In fact, it's not just it's not a correlation. It's a mathematical causation in the sense that because the numbers statistically of like black males kill black males more than anybody else does. I mean, that's not a stereotype. That's a statistical fact. It's
the same way as males kill way more people than females.
Right. Right. If you're talking about,
people will be like, it's 13% of the population committing 51% of the murders. I'm like, actually, no, it's only 6%. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, the black chicks ain't doing it.
Yeah.
But anyway, skin color is definitely a correlation, and there's no cause there. It's not like you're born black and you're going to fucking just kill people.
Right. No. But in terms of the mathematical reality of it, when policing goes away, if gang violence goes up and more blacks are in gangs and killing people, just as a mathematical thing, it's going to make the numbers. I mean, that's just going to happen.
So if there was one unjustified police killing, the stat is that there were 12 unarmed black men killed. And that's why the defund, and then George Floyd pushed over that. But all 12 of them resisted arrest. But let's just say all 12 of them were unjustifiably killed. And now we have an extra 1,000 black men who were killed after defund the police. So you're like, okay, shit, that didn't work. I want to tie this to Israel. How many fucking Palestinians have to fucking die before an Arab country opens the border and lets them fucking in? Why the fuck won't Egypt fucking open that fucking border and let the at least let the children and the moms leave, at least let the fucking women and kids leave? Why the fuck? How is that not like the biggest story in the world? The fucking Titanic is going down and these people are refusing to fucking what the fuck is going on over there?
There are a lot of people.
Why aren't we flying planes in by the fucking thousands and evacuating the women and children?
Yeah, because nobody cares. And And the countries over there don't want them. For the same reason they didn't want to take back, like when we tried to empty out Gitmo, a lot of people were claiming that Gitmo is like, well, you just arrested innocent people wandering around. And if it's criminal and all that. And so people were like, okay, this guy says he's from this place. And we tried to send a lot of these people back. And those countries were like, yo, no.
Serious?
Oh, no, that guy's not coming back here. Get the fuck out of here. And so, you have that issue too. Nobody ever talks about. Look, nobody ever talks about any of this stuff because everybody wants simple cookie cutter, aphorisms, the little clip, the 5-second clip. No one wants to talk serious. People don't have the attention span to talk about serious solutions.
There's got to be a priority, right? I don't even know what you're talking about. Is Sevon feeling guilty now for what? I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Guilty for what? There's a hierarchy, right, Dale? It's breathe, and then eat, and then fucking and shelter, right? I mean, there's like
something like that, yeah.
Right? Okay. So there's got to be a hierarchy in terms of you want the land, but you want to be alive. Well, all the people who aren't willing to die for the land, why not give them a fucking exit strategy?
Yeah. Again, the people.
For me, all my relatives ran. So did your relatives. That's why me and you are alive today and flourishing in the United States. Our relatives fucking are like, fuck this, we're out.
Yeah. Yeah. At some point. Yep.
Yeah. I'm so glad my relatives ran.
Hey, how do you feel about this? Take that notion to its farthest point. I wonder how I'll feel like post Trump and what happens what happens when the debt gets to 40 trillion and all that. And so I wonder at what point, or what if, the censorship doesn't go away? What if Trump's not able to stop that? What if in 4 years, what if he gets a bullet?
Right.
And so at what point will you see, and this is why I say the expropriations come next. At some point you'll see I don't see an outbreak of freedom coming anytime soon. The expropriations will start. They'll start seizing companies. Like suddenly SpaceX will have to be seized by the state, or Tesla will have to be property of the state. They'll start expropriating property and you'll see the capital flight. And so will we wind up in 10 years being like our generations ago and have to flee the US and maybe go back to Europe? I don't know. Maybe go somewhere else. It looks like there's a springback starting in the EU. I mean, am I going to have to move to Switzerland or, in order to just be able to live my own life and be left alone? I mean, how long before the capital flight out of the US starts? I wonder.
About all these people who are saying they're going to leave. If I saw a guy being interviewed in New York wearing a mask, and he's like, if Trump gets elected, I'm leaving. And I hear my wife say, good.
Hey, adios, muchachos.
Breaking news, JD Vance is going on Joe Rogan tomorrow. This could be the final nail in the Harris coffin.
That coffin's already done. That's already over with. They're already counting. People forget the election now as a process, and it started a while ago. And I think probably the forces that are at play, I'm not saying don't go out and vote because it depends on everybody kind of doing on election day what they normally would. But I'm suggesting there are already trends. That's why you see Democrats panicking and shitting their pants. Forces are already in play that strongly suggest that Trump's on his way to a landslide, like a Reagan-Mondale kind of 312 to 226 kind of beatdown electorally. And by the way, I never got to this point. I think that's why he went to New York and why he went elsewhere is I think he's trying to win the popular vote as well. I think your idea about that he wants to do big things, the only way you can do that and the justification for that has to be that I had a mandate. And so I think you see him campaigning in places. He's not going to win New York, and he knows he's not going to win New York. He'll say, oh, it's in play, it's in play. What he really wants to do is, Republicans have always been dissuaded from voting in elections where they thought they didn't have a chance at all, like in California and all that. It's not like there are no Republicans. I mean, look at San Diego County. I was just there. Like my Uber driver was bitching about all the politics going on in California. I was laughing. But of course, he was an Uber driver picking me up in Encinitas,
Right.
So, there are a lot of people who don't vote because they're like, there's no point. They're discouraged. And then, Democrats come out and go, oh, you can't even win the popular vote. And it's like, well, that's because I'm in a team blue state. It doesn't matter what I do. The city's going to override it. I think what Trump's trying to do is energize Republicans to go out and vote so that when the final tallies are done, instead of losing New York, say 70-30 or, something like that. Maybe he only loses New York by 58-42 percent. And what that means is he got a ton of New Yorkers, of Republicans, to come out Team Red to vote. And overall, in the overall total, he still lost. But it might mean at the end, when you count all the places where he did win and you tally up all the votes, he might also win the popular vote. And I think that's what he's trying to do. He wants a mandate. He wants to be able to say, hey, not only what do you mean democracy? What do you mean you guys won't turn over the keys? I mean, I got 50, or I got, 86 million votes and she only got 81. What are you talking about? I mean, I won even by your rules. I won the popular vote. I smoked you in the electoral vote. I've got a mandate, man. And by the way, the Republicans are going to win the Senate. I don't know if they're going to win the House, but they're going to at least have, if Trump wins, and I think he will, they'll have the Senate as well for sure. That's just, the map's very favorable for them this time around.
A guy said that they were interviewed in Madison Square Garden. He said, hey, what's crazy is just 4 years ago, if you were a Trump supporter, you had to be closeted. And that's why this is so important that this is happening now, because it's letting us finally fucking, like, we're growing this.
It's important. It's important. What was that? It's important that people feel like they have a voice, and it's a relief valve, if nothing else. People don't understand. Elections are what we use in lieu of sharp sticks. That's it. We use elections in lieu of political violence. That's the whole point. We're supposed to do that instead of stabbing each other in the face. It's a proxy for tribal warfare. It would be better if we all understood that and kind of toned it down a little, and so we don't wind up using sticks. But you got people who are fundamentally, they get the one ring in their hand and they're not giving it up.
Sevi, in the past, countries like Jordan and Lebanon have let in Palestinians in the past, and they started civil war, and Egypt has let them in the past, and they caused civil unrest. Sevan, you sound like a libtard here saying we should let all the people fleeing from the cartel countries inside our border. No, not all of them, just the women and children. And Pat, we actually have been doing that for decades. And the thing is 1.5 billion Muslims. Oh, I don't want to get into that. I want to say one more thing. Another thing I'm realizing, Dale,
what
the biggest shift in mentality for me was realizing just because I'm not a Christian and I don't believe in God, that I don't feel. Is my mic's working okay?
Yeah.
That I don't feel the obligation. As a young man, you feel this obligation because you haven't been called by God. So then you spend your whole life trying to prove he's not real. Right. And at some point, through hanging out with you and Greg and other people, you're like, hey, dude, chill the fuck out. Those people. And then I probably, since I had kids, my morals and my values started aligning with Christian values. And at one point I'm like, holy fuck, we need these people. But there's people all around me who really, what they're saying, I hear, the undercurrent is, for some reason, they just hate Christianity. Like, my whole life, they're taking these subtle digs at Christianity, but now all of a sudden they're okay with whatever the capital of Missouri is, them doing a 5 times prayer over loudspeakers a day there.
Oh, you're right. Called the call to prayer.
But they would have never allowed that if it was Christian prayer. And I'm just like, wow, what the fuck is going on? These people, I think,
and by the way,
hate God and hate Christianity.
Yeah, that's been noticeable. That's been a noticeable trend, and noticeable to those of us who, believe for a long time, is that it was never the claim that it was always about keeping religion free from the square and not mixing religion and state was always a specious claim, because there were always all kinds of other supernatural things that they were willing to believe in. It was really just replacing Christianity and an outright hostility to Christianity. Not like you talk about the whole love of Muslims unequivocally. And I'm like, hey man, you go to a lot of countries, homosexuality will get you thrown off a building. You do understand that, right?
Not figuratively, literally.
Yeah, that's not an analogy or a parable.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fascinating to me. I wish I could explain that to more people. Do you think that as human beings, I don't really have a understanding for it. I have a pretty third grade understanding for it, but that we have some sort of compartment in our brain, a section of our brain that has to hold a paradigm of religion, because so that when people say I'm not religious, basically they're lying to themselves. They are religious. They have something in there, whether it's CNN, whether it's the Christian Bible, but there is a part of your brain that needs some sort of operating system to run, to take. And so when someone says I'm not religious, that's like a red flag, right? It's like, oh shit, they're taking orders from something that they don't even know what it is. At least a Christian's like, oh, there's my book and those are my values. I'm transparent.
I just wrote 3 things about this, and it was entitled just last week. It's so funny you bring this up to me, but called "Who Needs Philosophy?" And Ayn Rand wrote an essay about that. It gave a lecture in '76, I think, at West Point. But it's the fundamental question is, who needs philosophy? And the answer is, of course, we all do. And if you don't, what you wind up with is a mishmash of incoherent, contradictory beliefs that in no way can be rectified with one another. And so I think, call it philosophy, call it religion, call it whatever. You need a belief system in order to act. That's kind of the nature of our existence. And if you don't have that, there's nothing that you can't be. You'll be next to what Greg's line, you'll be next in line. You don't want to be first in line for the next scam. And it's like, well, how do you not fall for that? Well, a coherent understanding of what you believe and why, and an examination of your own kind of interior monologue. You got to start there and interrogate yourself. Why do I believe what I believe? Why does something bother me? Why do I get all aggravated over that? What is it about that bothers me? It requires some introspection, but you can, there's some exercises you can do. And I put a couple up there on my website about that. My Substack.
What's your website?
The Substack is The Abject Lesson.
The Abject Lesson.
LESSON.
Hey, what would be fascinating if there was a way to stress test all the fucking crazy ideas you have as a kid. So, as a kid in college, you're like, accept everyone, love everyone. If treat everyone like you want to be treated under all circumstances, never kill anyone, just all these ideas you have. And then somehow stress test it, like grab that person and put them in a virtual reality world and be like, okay, here's a woman being raped. You have a gun in your hand. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, we do
philosophy of out the door. Philosophy goes flying out the door of like, love everyone, accept everyone.
No, it's not so much that philosophy should, but it should be tested against reality always. It should always be tested against reality. And that's the piece I'm working on now, which is, about killing, and Dave Grossman's book on killing, and Michael Giglieri's. In fact, it's right. I got it right here. You caught me right in the middle of The Dark Side of Man by Giglieri. This would be today would get him. I don't think he could do this. This guy was studied apes under Jane Goodall. He was an Army platoon sergeant in Vietnam, but he had always been the guy has all kinds of crazy history, but he studied primates, was his principal thing for his master's thesis. And then he wrote this book, The Dark Side of Man. And it's all about, like, chapter 1 is like the differences between the sexes, all of chapter 1 is Born to be Bad. It's all about men and male violence, who commits it, why, what are the numbers, but also like, what's the behavioral basis for it? It's a fascinating book. So you can believe a lot of things, but it ought to be grounded in the sort of reality of what we are. We're all capable of doing bad shit under the right circumstances.
Yeah, all of us. It reminds me of this line Greg's been sharing with me. I think he saw it in a Victor David Hansen. Maybe I can't remember where he heard it, but he was sharing with me that when you build a society and its goal is maximum tolerance, which is like, what you're taught, at least as a libtard in California, maximum tolerance. And I still like that. You have to have something in place, because you are going to breed maximum intolerance inside of that vessel of maximum tolerance. That's the danger inside of that vessel. Right. And it's like, holy shit. And that's what's happened. That we have built a cohort of people who have they have such maximum intolerance that they're willing to kill people who have even the slightest bit of intolerance. My intolerance is of molesting kids and chopping off penises, right?
Right.
And so they're willing to fucking come after me for that, because I'm not fitting the mold of maximum tolerance.
Yeah.
Like that shit needs to be fucking stress tested. Well, I guess it is societally now.
I was going to say we're doing it right now.
Are you okay with Iran having nuclear weapons? Are you okay with them wanting people to be let people have nuclear weapons who their singular goal and mission, as stated by them, is to exterminate all Jews? It's like, I don't know if I'm tolerant of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You stress tested me. Like, I want to be, but it's probably at some point it's probably in the sky shit. Jethro, he's a police officer. Just went to early vote on Long Island, 4-hour wait. Wow, crazy.
Yeah, I've been hearing the same. We're trying to figure out when we're going to do it. We'll be all right here. I mean,
you know, some states you can't even vote in person. I think Oregon you can't even vote in person. I think it's only. Is that true?
is it only mail-in ballots? That seems wrong. I don't think that could be right.
Can't vote in person, Oregon. Is that? Wait. Oh no, I guess they do have. Oh wait.
I think you have to have in-person voting.
Can't vote, and you have to.
I think so.
Who knows? Like early person vote voting rules state by state. Who cannot vote? Anyway.
Yeah, I was on a call yesterday. Not a call. I got the download of a call yesterday from people who watch these things closely. I think that's what people don't understand. There's a lot that goes on behind elections, like counting ballot returns and all that. There's an entire apparatus there, you know. So
is the information public on the county?
No, a lot of counties don't have the wherewithal to kind of have everything, you know, electronic and all that. So a lot of it comes from political operatives who, you know, that's one of the things that the parties do have. That is why they kind of exist and others don't, is they've been around a long time and they've got people on the ground who report to them about, you know, they've got people there in the county recorder's office who, as soon as it's done, they're like, they get a copy, they go and fax it or, you know, do whatever to get it to wherever it needs to go. So like they have access to info that most people don't, and they watch that stuff. You know, there's already election litigation going on right now.
Already?
Yeah, already. There've been several. The Fifth Circuit just had a huge opinion that came out, and they said that you can't count votes doesn't matter if they were postmarked before, if they show up after the deadline, if they show up nice. Good for you, Marissa. If you the Fifth Circuit said that if you can't, they're not allowed to take ballots after election day. They were like, hey, they interpret the Constitution that when it was fixed for a day of voting, it didn't mean that if ballots were marked before and show up after that's okay. They're like, no, it's got to be there on the day that the vote counting is done, the 5th, or you're out of luck. We'll see if that holds up.
So your shit's even differently. So your shit's even post. Well, I guess it when you drop that ballot in the box, I mean, I'm fucking no lawyer, but I'm guessing I'm guessing that every ballot box or post office box is property of the U.S. government. And so if you drop something in a box, it now belongs to the U.S. government. And so if you drop it in there before the 5th or on the 5th, it's theirs. They got it.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No,
that's what the Fifth Circuit said. I haven't read the opinion, but the Fifth Circuit said that it just the fact that it's postmarked, they're like, we don't care. If it doesn't show up until November 6th and the day for election is fixed as November 5th, then nah.
I guess you have to define what it means to show up, because I'm thinking show up means it's like, hey, you got it. It's your box. I mean, if you drop an ice cream cone in a mailbox, you're in big fucking trouble.
Yep.
I did that as a kid.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I don't think I ever came up with that one. Damn.
Like, you know, those blue boxes?
Yeah. No, I take that back. We used to throw snow in them.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to throw an ice cream in it.
Yeah. That's pretty benign.
No, I mean, I'm going to give up a good ice cream for a mailbox.
Dale, when there are millions of mail-in ballots like in 2020, they were all completed well before election day. It's unconstitutional to
Pat, it's not like that. It's different state by state, and they don't all count. Like some places do a running, like they count them as they go. Other states have a rule like no ballot is opened until we start counting on the 5th. That's the day.
I've heard. Yeah, all the in-person ballots have to be counted before mail-in ballots or something. I saw in one state.
It depends. It's state by state. All the election laws of the 50 states are different. They are very different across all 50 states.
What do you think about the Vegas odds? Do you think that's a valid form of tracking?
Yeah, I mean, valid. It's probably got some predictive power. I don't know how often they're right or wrong, but yeah, where that's the old joke. The race goes not always to the swift nor the battle to the strong, but that's the way the smart money bets.
Mm.
And so I would imagine that the people you would think that there's enough people with enough information that um the money might kind of tend to tell you something, but that's not always true. I mean, a lot of people, no one would put a bet on Buster Douglas, and he still, busted Mike Tyson's ass. You couldn't even put a bet on Buster Douglas.
Right.
If it were a known thing, there wouldn't be betting. If the outcome were knowable, then they wouldn't even be able to take odds.
Right. And I bet you those odds, I think those odds don't take in cheating. I think the odds are determined by people betting.
Right. There's all kinds of things they don't take in. I mean, what you're looking at though is just a sort of where people are putting their money, and they're putting their money on Trump right now. They think Trump's going to win. She's bad. She's just a terrible candidate. I mean, say whatever you want about Trump, how bad he is, how awful, but Kamala Harris is awful. I mean, terrible, awful. Like just it may be the worst presidential candidate we've ever had.
Like dumb and communist.
She's not, she couldn't, I bet you she's never read a single word of Karl Marx. I mean, her beliefs might coincidentally line up with him, but she's not some doctrinal Marxist. I bet you she's never read anything.
Right.
She's never read Foucault or, Hegel or Engels or Marx.
You could still be a good, you could still be a good communist though. You could still believe, have that flawed fucking operating.
Her dad was a Marxist economist. I mean, that's a widely understood thing. So yeah, you could say maybe she hasn't read anything, but that doesn't mean to say that she wasn't getting it at the dinner table every night. Her old man was a Marxist professor at UC Berkeley, I think. So yeah, I'm just saying she's a blank slate. You don't see anything out of her that looks like when she was Montel Williams' girlfriend, nobody was like, what a commie. You know what I mean? Yeah. Nobody was listening to her hold forth, with her little red booklet on how Mao got it right. Nobody's ever heard that out of Kamala, ever. So,
did you see the story of there's a guy, he wanted a sex change operation. This is in California, and he couldn't afford it. So he looked up on like Craigslist or whatever and saw a yacht that was for sale, and he went on the yacht. And he was taking a tour of the yacht, and they went out and they were riding in the yacht, and he took the two owners of the yacht, a husband and wife, and tied them to the anchor and threw them overboard. And then went and then fished on their boat and drank their beers, and then came back, and he went to jail, and he's on death row, Dale.
And he got a sex change.
Yes.
Yeah. I'd say he's got a lot bigger problems than mean,
we spent tax money on fucking a sex change operation for him.
Yeah, that's obviously stupid shit. But this is where ideology leads you to all kinds of crazy places.
There should be some rule that you can't get a sex change operation if you're on death row with taxpayers' money.
I mean, it's one of those, like, when I hear statements like that, I don't even know how to take it. There ought to be a rule that, and then everything that follows that sentence is like kind of insane. And you wonder if we're at the point where that's what's going on. Maybe rules aren't the problem here, that we've got deeper issues.
And here, yeah. And here's the thing. Not a single, you couldn't find one single Republican who could justify that. You could blame the whole machine. You could say Republicans and Democrats are equally at fault for this happening. But if you just stop Republicans on the street, no Republican is going to be like, is going to back that up. Not one. But you are going to find Democrats are going to be like, yeah, he had the right to medical care. It's part of our right. It's like, hey, man, it's like, what are you going to do? Like, he's in jail. It's like,
yeah, people believe crazy shit.
It's like the people who rip on the church for harboring pedophiles, and it's like, okay, but they're not trying to normalize it. They're not trying. That's a big distinction between the left and the church. You want to say all the bad shit you want about the church. It's weird, bunch of guys getting together, hanging out, reading books and shit, little kids lighting candles, all that. But they're not trying to normalize it. Those motherfuckers should be hiding and scurrying around corners and in the dark and shit.
Sprinkling water.
Yeah, sprinkling water.
Crazy.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Love having you on.
Anytime, buddy.
I love it how you're like, you asked me, it's like, what are we gonna talk about? I'm like, oh, don't worry. We got it.
I was like, should I prep anything? Should I get anything together? No, we're just gonna wing this. All right, cool.
You're the best. You are. People love it when you come on. You're like most popular guest.
Hey, I like that you, Greg, and I, independently of each other, all started growing beards.
Yeah, I am. Yes, I am. I'm gonna go a few months here, I think.
I do too. I got oral argument in court in Tucson in 3 weeks, and I was like, oh, I'm at the point of like, I don't know, but I think it'll be good enough. So I'm gonna hold out, and hopefully this turns into a majestic beard before I appear in court.
Yeah, nice.
I don't look just like a homeless guy who wandered in on behalf of my client.
And where are you watching the election on the 5th?
Man, I don't know if I will be, because it's gonna be fought about for nothing's gonna be certain. I don't know. I might just make sure I've all my generators stocked up, fueled up, and make sure all that shit. I do not think things are gonna go well after this. I think we're gonna see shit go badly. But I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe the other side will not lose their minds and burn shit down. But I have a feeling I wouldn't be surprised if we wind up with a declaration of martial law and shit goes bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, I'll get us. Let's go to Mar-a-Lago. God, wouldn't it be fun?
Oh, it's great. Yeah. Whatever. I'll be in touch with sources I have close by. I've already heard some things that internally their own polling, the campaign, everybody seems to know. I've heard that the Kamala campaign knows that they're tubing badly, and that the Trump Vance campaigns, their internal polling shows that they're doing well. They're very confident.
Really sane Democrats, I know, is whatever the fuck that means, are sending me posts showing that Donald Trump is signaling the Proud Boys with his gold tie. And I'm like, even my sane Democrat friends are losing their shit.
Yeah, losing their minds. This is where it's at, man. Like I said, people are going through. I wonder. Look, I'll throw you. Want another conspiracy theory to add to this before we get off?
Yeah.
There are a long line of papers written about vaccinating people with substances that could be used to not mind control, but alter behavior, make people a little more agitated.
Yeah.
Via chemicals, and it shouldn't be crazy given the number of people who are taking SSRIs. And
right.
Look at the SSRI use among Democratic women. Look at the number of them who are on.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
the stats on Democrat women are crazy. They're crazy. And I don't mean it. I don't mean that the women are crazy. That's a double entendre, I think, right? Did I use that right?
Yeah. Freudian slip, kind of, maybe.
Yeah. They're crazy and the stats are crazy. You're just like, wow. Yeah, the Dems are in panic mode. Even David knows. Yeah, the Dems are freaking out.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, if you're a Democrat, don't worry. It's
gonna be fine.
You guys, listen, you guys are gonna be fine. The whole point is to leave everyone alone. You can still go to find the state, you can still kill babies, you'll still be able to get sex change operations. We still love all our gay friends.
You just won't be able to enforce it on the rest of us. You'll just have to shut the fuck up for a while.
Yeah, just be cool.
Right. Yeah.
Just
for 4 years, you're just gonna have to pipe down and shut the fuck up like the rest of us have.
We don't care if you're black or a Jew or no one cares. Things are just gonna be normal for a second.
Yeah, we just need a breather. We're just gonna take 4 years and just take a fucking breath from your bullshit.
Yeah,
that's all.
Chill.
Yeah,
everything's cool. You can still do all the crazy shit you want to do. Still do acid in San Francisco. Still needle exchanges. Don't worry.
Yep. Yeah, the ass sex will still be around. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's fine.
I'll talk to you later.
All right, love you, Dale. Bye. Oh Jesus. Never. The ass sex will still be around. November 11th or 12th, when Chris Cooper comes on, we will be doing the affiliate prize money giveaway. So that kind of worked out good since it's his fucking money. Two Brain Business put up the money. Two Brain Business put up the money for the. Something's wrong with my mic. I'm hearing crackling or something. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's my mic or the Rodecaster or what. Caller, hold on one second. Let me reboot up the phone here. How can there be so many technical? I guess I shouldn't complain about the technical difficulties. It's a miracle that I can fucking do any of this. So fine. Hey, caller, what's up? Yo,
Sevy,
what's up, dude?
that dude was awesome.
Oh my God, isn't Dale rad? I need to
Yep.
ask him. I think he had to go to the bathroom. Like I recognize that. I think I recognize that now that he had to pee.
You can hold the show down by yourself, no problem. Let him go.
Yeah, I did. But I mean, I'm just impressed if I notice that. I'm dying to text him. Hey, did you have to pee? I'm gonna text him now. Did you have to pee?
Ask him now.
Yeah, I will. What's up with you?
I don't think he did. Hey, are you guys having a watch party Tuesday?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to do like a 6-hour show.
Starting when? And you're gonna have different people on, and who's gonna be on?
I don't know. I invited Froning. I'd like to invite Dale. I've invited Hiller, Josh Bridges, Hunter, Dalton Rasta, the Bellator fighter, Pat Lang. So
Taylor could be okay because if it does go to Harris, we might have some content there with him breaking down. Like it won't be pretty for any of us, but it'll be real ugly for him.
just because of his prediction.
Yeah, he's very invested in Trump winning. Like we all are, but it could.
Why? Because
could
you
be
think
entertaining.
they're gonna make TRT illegal if she's elected? You know they are. He probably hasn't thought of that.
Yeah. There's a lot that could go bad in the next 4 years for all of us.
But Hiller claims to be apolitical, like he's not political at all.
He doesn't want to lose.
Andrew Hiller?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it could be that simple. Hey, my other question for you is: do you have an intern or someone that works for you that could do a little bit of bitch work? That's something you don't want to do bookkeeping wise.
Yeah, everyone besides me.
Okay, so I think you could start you kind of want to get a little more presence on Twitter or Instagram. You could start an account with just documenting all these celebrities who are saying they're going to move if Trump wins, and this will only work if Trump wins. And then we could kind of keep track of who leaves and who doesn't. I would follow that account on all social platforms. I think it'd be a blast.
No one's gonna leave. No one's gonna leave.
Well, then that should be brought to light.
Yeah, no one's gonna leave. Like, where the fuck are you gonna go? All the other countries are. I mean, did you see what just happened in Australia? They're not letting Candace Owens come there.
That is wild.
Yeah, that is crazy, right?
Wild.
Yeah.
Remember, Cara Webb or Saunders kind of pushed back a little bit when she had to go back from the games because she got COVID in 2021, and she had to go to one of those facilities. It wasn't a hotel, but it wasn't a jail. It was like a holding cell.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think it was a
where did she
hotel.
stay? Like where?
I think it was a hotel.
No,
it
was it?
wasn't.
Okay.
I think it was a hotel, but I
They
think it was
had
like
little
I think it
concentration
was like
camps.
fenced in and shit.
It was because the outside. It may have been a hotel at one point, but for this time period, it was more of like a concentration camp of where you had to go to. Like, where are the people that were pissed at the time now? Everyone just kind of rolled over and is okay with it.
I'm not.
Well, anyway,
I'm not okay with it.
thanks for having Dale on. When he said that RFK could be the head of Health and Human Services, my little pee-pee moved a little bit. That really jacked me up.
Oh, who would be the head of it? Oh, our
Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
He said that there's rumbles. He has rumbles. I mean that's the reason why I'm voting for Trump. I'm a big RFK fan, and I just love the cabinet he might put together. I can't wait for Tuesday. I'm gonna watch all 6 hours, Sebi. Thanks for all you do.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. I think we're gonna start at 6 and go to midnight.
6 your time?
Yeah.
That's gonna be too late. That's 9 my time on the East Coast. You got to start before then. We're gonna know by 6 our time. You want to start like at 3?
Okay, done. 3 o'clock.
4 o'clock maybe.
No, let's do 3.
Think about
fuck it. Hey, listen.
Okay.
Listen, you're officially now an intern. You're
All right.
You're the first intern of the show. I'm going to the home, upcoming shows. We don't even have it scheduled yet.
All right. My name is Bo, by the way.
Okay, Bo. Thank you. Bo the
All right,
intern.
Bo, the intern.
All right.
All right.
Thank you. Hey,
Bye. Bye.
you're
Bye
vital.
for now.
You're vital to the existence of the show. Thank you. Bo the intern.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye for now.
Bye for now. God, I love Bo. I don't give a fuck what you guys say. Oh, you guys like him too. 6 to midnight. Oh, baby. Patty, you were not allowed to watch that show, Patty. Jesus Christ. Listen, the reason why I'm not replying to your guys' DMs anymore is because I'm fucking stuck in the DMs with fucking Pat. Me and Pat fucking 69'd each other for fucking 5 hours yesterday. Text message from a friend. Dale is legitimately the best guest. Always love his shows. I know, isn't it weird? And Rambler doesn't like him, or Rambler 2, or whatever the fuck that guy was. How could you? Hey, if for some reason you don't like Dale as a guest, you shouldn't say anything because it says more about you than it does about it says more about you than okay, fine, you're invited. Oh yeah. Pat, you do need to come on, dude. That'll be so awesome. Oh man, I don't know how I'm gonna get you a link. I can't give you my phone number. You're the only person I've ever said that about. Sevi, did you delete all your DMs with Pat like last time? Yeah, that's what I did. Always. Dale's a great guest. I love him. Yeah, he's great, right, Pat? That'll break the golden rule, letting a guest, someone from the chat on the show. What were we talking about? I gotta pee and I gotta do some other stuff. I don't think I should get off the show though. I think I need to decompress a little bit with you guys. I got so wound up from that show, like in a good way. Oh shit. Oh shit. What is this? What is this nonsense conspiratorial? What is this? What is this? Holy shit. All right. We'll be back to engage with the rumors. By the way, I just Susan made a folder for me. Susan made a folder for me with all the videos, contest videos, and he sent it to me in some sort of drive. Oh, is it downloading? And I'm trying to download all the fucking affiliate videos so then I can start uploading them. I don't know how G Drive works. How the fuck? Can someone show me how this works? Before I take a piss. Show you guys a commercial. I just click the folder, right? Affiliate video content folder, and then I hit download. Oh, did it download already? Where do I go? Then I go to my downloads. Oh shit, there it is. 559 megabytes. Double click it. Where is this folder? Where did it go? Where's the folder? Oh, it's in the okay, shit. And now drag it. I want to put it in a safe place. I'll just drag it to my desktop. Wow. Nathan Bruce Sion. What's this?
To be able to come here and prioritize yourself.
Wow, some of these people shot some beautiful shit. Hold on, let me see if I can upload just this one right now and play it for you guys. This one I just downloaded. I'm getting excited about the video contest. Oh, .mov, I can't. Oh, I'm gonna have to. Holy shit, Susie! You know what I'm gonna have to do? Oh no, it's It's an MP4. Let me see. Downloads, documents. Where's desktop? Library, system preferences. No, library, users. Go to users, Sevan Matosian, desktop. Where? Fuck, I'll just type in the name of the video. I can't find it. Nathan. Oh, there it is. Open. 161 megabytes. It's uploading now. I wonder if there's a size limit of how big a file you can upload to StreamYard. Okay, cool. I have a new affiliate video for you guys. Holy shit, there's going to start being so many affiliate videos. There's going to be so many affiliate videos. Okay, I want to talk to you about Patrick Rios. Patrick Rios has uploaded a video a couple weeks ago on J.R. Howell. It's on our Instagram account. It's an amazing making that. He went there and he made this video, and we didn't know what he was going to make, and it ended up being amazing, and everyone loves it. So we have that. I want to talk a little bit, just love on Rios a little bit. We have a new show coming to the Saran podcast. I don't know if it's going to launch today or tomorrow, but any day now, we have a new show launching to the Saran podcast. It's a 10-minute show on average, and I think you guys are going to be really, really happy with it. I'm super duper excited about it. So look for that to start going live. I'm going to show you this video from the affiliate contest. It's called a guy named Nathan Labrusano made it from CrossFit Apex. It says it's processing. Wonder how long that takes. I don't want to go until it's ready, and then I want to take a leak. Is it a Metfix show? No, has nothing to do with that. It's a CrossFit show, but I think you guys are gonna really like it. It's really fucking cool. And then we'll come back and we'll talk about this Tim Waltz accused of past affair with what does CCP stand for? Chinese Communist Party? Chinese Communist Party? Is that what CC stands for? Anyway, I'll be back in just a minute.
To be able to come here and prioritize yourselves, you're doing it for them. So then they have a mom that can run and jump and play and do whatever they want to do. Before I got here, I was chasing Jack around on his dirt bike. So like for me to be able to be like, yeah, I can go do that. That's why I do this now. Before I was pregnant, it was probably the best shape I was in. But I knew from watching other moms in our community go through it, like, oh, like you can still do this during pregnancy, and being able to be like fit throughout pregnancy, and you're not disabled when you're pregnant, you're just growing another human. So I think it helped a lot. It helped with motivation, being able to come in here every day and work out with people. And going through my first pregnancy, like I had no idea what to expect. So to have a community of other moms kind of talk you through that, Tanya's helped coach a lot of other pregnant people. And then coming back from pregnancy, the community was even more impactful. It's hard. It's an uphill climb every single day. Coming back, I'm going through it right now. Just started working out again. And again, it's that like you lean on the community a lot.
Holding it. Two Brain Business is holding it down. Holding it down. Not yet, buddy. Thank you.
Hey.
Hi, babe. Hey, if I send could you send Avi in here to get me my coffee cup and I get a refill?
I can do it.
Okay. How are we on time?
Or do you want Avi?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. How am I on time?
Good. We don't have anything until noon.
Okay.
They have a private tennis.
Okay, and the boys wanted to play tennis with me today up in Scotts Valley, but I told them I'm already gonna have an hour to play tennis with them each at Seascape today, right?
Yeah, that would be overkill.
Because they already have 3 hours of tennis today, right?
Yeah, they're
Okay.
private and then clinic this evening.
Okay, cool. I'll just go. Okay, so I'm gonna plan on taking them to tennis and play with them.
Oh, for their private, you mean? Not
Yeah.
in Scotts Valley then.
Yeah. I'm gonna go to Seascape and play.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, love you.
You want a coffee?
Yeah, please. And
I'm gonna grab your
you
cup.
can either bring me a new cup or grab this cup. Either way, I don't care.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Sebs, one of my buddies berated me for listening to the show and participating. I told him to go fuck himself. Typical partisan dork. I can tolerate different opinions. I chose you. Well, thank you. That's good. Thank you. You. I mean, without you, we're just gonna be sucking our own dicks all the time and each other's. Jesus, I love my mother. Fair. I love my mother too. I'm excited. My mom's been in Armenia for a couple weeks. She's coming back. I was texting with her this morning. I miss her. Warms my heart. Honestly, Pat, glad you have stuck around since the early days. All right. I chose you. Sounds so tender and loving. Oh, fair enough. Okay, what is going on here? So here's the thing with Walls, right? 60 trips to China with boys. Implications were that he was a pedo, started the gay club at his high school. Whatever. There were some rumors flying around. They ended up being proven false. He got exonerated. I guess it's a good thing he's not a pedo. And now this is just posted 46 minutes ago from Valutainment, Patrick Bet-David's organization. Minnesota governor and vice presidential candidate Tim Walz was involved in a secret, not even allegedly, but just was involved in a secret romantic relationship with the daughter of a ranking member of a Chinese Communist Party. I don't think the word secret needs to be put in there. Lots of guys fuck. Lots of guys who leave the country fuck. If a guy leaves the country, let me tell you something else about men. If a guy goes somewhere 60 times, there's a good chance he's fucking someone. Like, you should just assume that. Like, if you have a husband or boyfriend who does fishing trips to Thailand twice a year, and he's been doing that for 20 years, he's fucking there. It just, and this is going to be even more crass. I apologize, but especially if it's an Asian country. What if he goes 69 times? Yeah, same thing. If your husband goes somewhere to any Asian country repeatedly, there's a very good chance he's fucking. Anyone who says fishing trip to Thailand even once is picking up lady boys. Yeah, that's true. Matt Burns, not necessarily fucking, but some form of happy ending. How the fuck is fucking Asian? How the fuck is fucking Asian? What do you mean? I'm just saying that those are a lot of Asian countries are sex tourist destinations. Sex tourist destinations? Sex destinations for tourists. Just like if your husband's going to Europe twice a year for a vacation by himself without the family, he's probably having gay sex. It's just the way it is. Who is fucking Asians, dude? Jesus. Sexinations. Thank you, Heidi. That probably is a word. Hey, David, not everyone's into fucking chicks who wear burqas like yourself. Burger. My favorite Asian massage place always fondles me, but that's why I keep going back. Those ladies are hilarious with me. Yeah. My wife went to I don't know if I should tell that story. I probably have told that story before. I'll save it. Thank you, sir. Nice Trump hat. Okay. Minnesota governor and vice presidential candidate Tim Walz was involved in a secret romantic relationship with the daughter of a ranking member of the Chinese Communist Party while teaching in China in the 1980s. A new report alleges, there we go, Jenna Wang, the daughter of a CCP, Chinese Communist Party labor union chairman named Bin Hu, claims that Walz showered her with gifts and seduced her behind her father's back, but after the relationship soured, she was left feeling like a prostitute. Wow. Let's go to the comments. Are you sure it wasn't the CCP son? Fair enough. He's also being accused of molesting a minor when he was a teacher. I think that got disproven. Just imagine if this was J.D. Vance. I'm sure this will be all over CNN. That's actually kind of gangster. He fucked the op's daughter. Yeah, I see that. Who cares? Vote blue. How I thought he was busy at the Tiananmen Square protest. No surprise there. Media will bury the story on Tampon Tim. I don't think you can bury it once it gets to Valutainment. He dare ever open his mouth about Trump's reputation again. You can see his deceptive soul through his eyes. Okay. He tried kissing me at the White House. Okay. Tampon Timmy at it again. Kind of makes sense. He would have a relationship with the communist. Oh, come on. Y'all never gotten a massage before? Another child mistreated by Walls. Yeah, that is the question. How old was she? Let's see if we can do a little search on Jenna Wang and see what pops up. Oh shit. Oh shit. Wow. All right. To the liberal rag Newsweek, Chinese official daughter speaks out over Tim Walz's romance. Jenna Wang, the daughter. See, so here's the thing. This is why this is so important. Not because he's a scumbag and he fucks. That's all men. That's all men. Okay, so he's a man. Okay. Well, that's nice to know. At least he's a man. Yeah, Spat Lang. He was banging a Chinese chick. I kind of like him more. Yeah, exactly. He's a man. He fucks. The problem is that when you have this stuff on people and you can use it to manipulate them. So here's a guy who might be president of the United States one day, and we don't want anyone leveraging these relationships or his past against him in order to that affects the entire fucking compromises the security of the entire United States of America. Jenna Wang, the daughter of a Chinese Communist Party CCP official, has said she had a hidden romance with vice presidential candidate Tim Walz during his time teaching in China. China does not want Trump as president, I don't think either. In an exclusive interview with the Daily Mail released on Monday, Wang said she and Walz, Minnesota's current governor and the running mate of Vice President Kamala Harris, had a passionate affair. What's that mean, passionate? That included promises of a future that ultimately went unfulfilled. What's passionate mean? Passionate affair. That means like where you lay around in bed naked for like 48 hours eating cheese and crackers and just sucking and fucking. Newsweek has contacted the Harris-Walz campaign via email for comment. The campaign did not respond to the Daily Mail's request. Wang, now 59, said she met Walz in 1989 when he taught English at No. 1 High School in Foshan, Guangdong Province through the nonprofit World Teach. At the time, Wang was a 24-year-old English teacher, not a minor, at No. 8 school. Okay, so I'm not sure what the big deal is if he wasn't married. At the time, Wang was a 24-year-old teacher at No. 8 middle school, and despite the risk posed by her father's high rank with Communist Party, the couple began a discreet relationship. Tim was very passionate and very romantic. I can still remember dancing with him to our favorite song, Careless Whisper, Wang told the Mail. Because public displays of affection could jeopardize her family's reputation, Wang said she and Walz maintained their connection behind closed doors. She recounted intimate moments in Walz's accommodations where they would listen to music, talk for hours, and share their dreams for the future. In fact, he couldn't touch or kiss in public, just made it all the more exciting and intense when we were finally alone. She added, we were deeply in love, and I wanted to marry him and start a family. When it happened, I felt very unhappy and sad. Tim's behavior was very selfish. When what happened? When it didn't happen. In 1992, the future vice presidential candidate. He's not a future vice presidential candidate. He is the current vice presidential candidate. Returned to China, where tensions escalated over Wang's desire for marriage and a life in the United States. Walz, however, allegedly questioned her intentions, wondering if she was interested in him or simply a pathway to a U.S. visa. This was very offensive, Wang told the Mail. I said to him, that is both or nothing. I said to him, it's either both or nothing. Republican Senator Mark Rubio, vice chair of the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, called for an investigation following the revelation, citing possible implications for national security. In a post on X, Rubio said, if you aspire to be vice president of the United States, voters deserve to know everything about and any and every link you have to the Chinese Communist Party. Rubio has not yet to confirm whether he will pursue an official inquiry into Walz's past relationships with Wang or any broader connection. Here's the thing, too. The Chinese are so fucking sophisticated in that shit. For all he knows, she was a fucking spy the entire time. Walz's China stint has stirred controversy before, notably due to him taking a misleading statement about being in China during the Tiananmen Square protests of 1989. While Walz previously claimed to have been in Hong Kong during the uprising, later reports found that he did not arrive in China until months after the protests had ended. Walz, who addressed the issue during the vice presidential debate earlier this month, described his earlier comments as knuckle-headed. Wang, now a teacher and translator in Europe, said she felt compelled to speak out due to what she described as Walz's selfish behavior and lack of transparency. Tim lied about Tiananmen Square, and he's lied about other things, she told the Mail. This is a very crucial moment in history, and a man like this does not appear to have the character and integrity to do one of the most important jobs in the world. Wow. Tim Walz accused of leaving communist leader's daughter. So she's going to be making the podcast circuit soon. Wow. She is going to be I wonder what year he got married. Mrs. Wang said her father, Bin Hu, would have been very upset with her if he found out she had an affair with a Westerner, so the two kept the relationship a secret. Mrs. Wang taught at a nearby school to where he taught with the World Teach Association in the 80s. The downfall of the relationship was an argument over whether she really loved Mr. Walz or only wanted a visa to the United States. I was giving it up to be with Tim, to get married and start a family, Mrs. Wang said. Knowing now that he wasn't going to marry me made me feel cheap and common, as if I were being treated like a prostitute, a whore. The two never saw each other again. But Mr. Walz continued to spend time in China by organizing trips for students from Nebraska and Minnesota. Mrs. Wang wound up immigrating to Italy a few years after they stopped talking. Wow. Good shit. Let's see how when, or let's say Tim Walz's wife. Tim Walz's wife. Let's Google that. Gwen Walz married in 1994. So it sounds like they weren't, like he was done fucking the Chinese lady. So all we found out is that he was banging some chick in China. Well, I mean, at least that means he's probably, I mean, do pedos bang chicks too? Tim Walz's wife, do men who, I guess men do everything. Tim Walz's wife argues putting tampons in all school bathrooms is part of helping kids to learn to read. If you're talking about learning to read and closing gaps, then you better take away the barriers for that. If that's tampons, then that's tampons, Gwen Walz said. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. I'd love to hear this logic. Wow, she looks crazy. What's that? Look at that fucking lady. Wow. This is going to be good.
What Kamala Harris told us we had to do was we had to turn the page, right? Yeah, because we have something really exciting headed in our direction. But I kind of liked it when she did this. Turn the page.
Look at these people in the... Oh, shit. I hope I didn't fuck that up.
You didn't like that? Okay, so I need you to be with me and practice with me. What are we going to do? We're going to turn the page. Oh, pretty good. Do it again. We're going to turn the page. And we're going to turn the page. All right, so I'm going to be watching you. Because when I see Wisconsin, and I'm going to watch you nationally on TV because this is a pretty important place, and Minnesota helped me practice.
He's nervous. He's nervous.
You just show me this. Turn the page, right? Turn the page. And you know what else that looks like? Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Donald Trump. We are turning the page. 52 days and we are turning the page.
Gwen Walz, wife of Minnesota Governor and Democratic Vice Presidential hopeful Tim Walz, indicated offering tampons in school bathrooms would help students learn to read during an appearance on the Katie Couric podcast. Couric asked Walz about her husband being called Tampon Tim, a nickname coined by the conservatives after he signed a bill in the state that would put free menstrual products in all school restrooms, including boys' rooms. If kids are hungry in school, what what that does to the brain and learning, you're not going to learn to read, Wall said. So if you're talking about learning to read and closing gaps, then you better take away the barriers for that. If that's tampons, then that's tampons, right? Take away the barriers and let's get to the real work of this, not get lost in what are the components. And as some people would say, equaling the playing field or whatever it might be, she said. Holy shit. The legislation says menstrual products must be available to all menstruating students in restrooms regularly used by students in grades 4 to 12, according to a plan developed by the school district. Since then, the moniker Tampon Tim has been used to highlight this socially progressive view. Tim and I have always... Why would you put tampons in a boy's restroom? I don't get it. Can you imagine what you would do if you were in fucking elementary school? What me and my friends would have done if we found tampons in the bathroom? We would have taken them all out, got them wet, and thrown them and stuck them to the ceiling. We would have had a fucking field day with that. Tim and I have always thought about removing barriers to learning and success, and whatever that barrier is, whether it be free lunch or menstruation products or knowing who you are, everyone means everyone, and some things look different for some people. People have different needs and they have different resources, but everyone means everyone and all of us. So that it's not an unmessy journey, but we have looked at it like, what do you need to do to move forward? What do you need to be happy and healthy and have success? And how might we most effectively and best help with that? And then mind our own damn business, right? Then get out of the way because, and I think that those two pieces probably describe him. Tim, he's compassionate, he's empathetic, he removes barriers. He does a great job of that, but I think then he's like, whose business is that? Like, mind it yourself. Now I have to put a quarter in the swear jar, but mind it yourself. Like, let's just get about real important issues that we have to solve, not get caught up in people's own personal business. Imagine using that as an excuse to just let kids do whatever they want. Hey, just mind your own business. We see equity as people that they need to get a specific place where we can have the conversation. Waltz also discussed Second Gentleman Doug Emhoff's advice and the support he has given her. He's such an amazing person, and how he models support for his wife and empowers women and empowers me is really miraculous, she said. So he has, had a good sense of humor about things. Notably, Emhoff faces allegations that he once slapped an ex-girlfriend so hard she spun around after, and then he engaged in inappropriate misogynist office behavior at his Los Angeles law firm. Emhoff's first marriage ended following his affair with the children's nanny, whom he got pregnant, according to the Daily Mail. The nanny's close friend told the outlet that she did not keep the baby, but did not elaborate further. No, they're just normal people. He empowers women by letting them play in women's sports. Do you guys hear any crackling? I really need to know if it's my mic or my headset. I don't care if it's my headset. I really don't want it to be my mic. Testing. I don't hear it. It's weird. It comes and goes. Sounds fine. All right. No crackling. All right. I need this. I need the beginning of that song just so I can play it in the background. I love that. That whatever that electronic shit is. I'm trying to get for Rogue, by the way. I'm trying to get Katie Henniger to come on the shows during Rogue after every night. I think I'm close to that. That'll be great. I think we got Taylor Williamson coming on. I need to reach out to Ricky Garrard. I'll try to get him on next week. New show coming up on the 7 podcast. Make sure you watch the piece Rios. made on J.R. Howell on the Sevon Podcast channel.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose, you can vote any way you want. And no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Walls. Vote Common Good is responsible for the contents of this ad.
Lie to your husband. Lie to your husband. Just lie. Just lie. Just lie to your husband. It's okay. Just lie. Whatever. Just lie to him. Fuck it. Suck his dick and lie to him. Vote Walls. Man, these things are just fucking pouring in right now. You guys are giving me so much fucking content in real time. I haven't seen any of these. These are just pouring into my text messages. From Riley Gaines. Let's check this one out.
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about all of us. And listen, I have fought my whole career to put the people first.
The fuck is going on? Kamala. Oh, it's Kamala. 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 I don't get what we're looking at here. It says a genuine Michael Scott moment caught on camera. What is it? What am I missing? Someone help a brother out. What am I missing? A genuine Michael Scott moment. Who's Michael Scott? Is that a film director?
Okay, now I want each of you to shout your own name. Do that. Because it's about all of us. It's about.
What am I missing? She told them to chant their own names. Yeah, but what's wrong with that? I don't get it. Oh, it's from The Office? Oh, all right. What? I don't get it. Oh, and they didn't. Oh, right. I don't know. I'll cut her some slack on that. All right. Oh, I just got tired. November 8th, I think Bear Hamlin's coming on the show, CEO and founder of Born Primitive. He's got a big announcement, something he wants to share. On the 12th of November, we'll be announcing the winners with Chris Cooper and Two Brain Business and of the affiliate video contest. And also he will have the new State of the Industry report. You guys remember that from last year? I'm pretty excited about that. I hope I get one soon. I can't wait to dig through it. It's basically a survey of 15,000 gyms around the world. Talks about how they're doing. It's the most comprehensive report in the space. Let me see if there's anything else I have for you. Oh, I guess I could save this for tomorrow or the next day. Candace Owens is not being allowed to go to Australia. How crazy is that? If you're Australian, you should be tripping. You should be tripping. Candace Owens denied visa to Australia over comments about Jews and Muslims. Australia rejects application by right-wing U.S. pundit Candace Owens. Candace Owens blocked from coming to Australia. Right-wing extremist Candace Owens is blocked from entering Australia. Let's read the Newsweek article one. We'll do it today. Fuck it. Let's do it. Commentator Candace Owens has been blocked from entering Australia ahead of a planned speaking tour. Australia's Minister of Home Affairs, Tony Burke, rejected Owens' visa application, his office confirmed to Newsweek. From downplaying the impact of the Holocaust with comments about Nazi Dr. Josef Mengele through to claims that Muslims started slavery, Candace Owens has the capacity to incite discord in almost every direction, Burke said. Australia's national interest is best served when Candace Owens is somewhere else. Owens has long stoked controversy with inflammatory claims about Jewish, Muslim, and transgender people. In July, she sparked a backlash after saying that the accounts of Nazi medical experiments conducted on twins by Mengele is concentration camp sounded completely absurd and like bizarre propaganda. Owens is not public. How is that? Was she doing that to emphasize how crazy they were? God, that seems out of context. Owens has not publicly commented on being barred from Australia. She has been contacted for comment via an email sent through the website for Blexit, a grassroots conservative movement she co-founded. The Anti-Defamation Commission, a pro-Jewish group that pushed to bar Owens from Australia, welcomed Burke's decision to reject her visa application. Jesus. This is a victory for truth, for decency, and for millions of Jewish souls and millions of others in memory who she so shamelessly desecrated. The group's chairman, Davir Abramovich, said in a statement provided by Newsweek. What's crazy is it's that kind of censorship that got the fucking Jews killed. These fucking morons. The decision by the government to bar Owens sends a resounding message. Australia has no place for those who mock the suffering of genocide survivors and insult the memories of the 6 million Jews who perished. This is the line in the sand. Incredible. Fuck Australia. What a disaster of a fucking country. No government, she has been increasingly critical of Israel, writing on X in November last year that no government anywhere has the right to commit genocide ever. There's no justification for genocide. I can't believe this even needs to be said or is even considered the least bit controversial to state. Israel has denied accusations of genocide. Well, of course it's not genocide. If they were doing genocide, they would have fucking napalmed the whole fucking country. This is nuts. Wow, Australia really is a shithole. Wow. She said the surgeries on Jewish people were bizarre propaganda and didn't happen. She hates the Jews. Did you watch Hiller's latest video? HQ so professional with their video presentations. I did see the video he did on Dom Fall. Man, that was a fucking world-class fucking obliteration and takedown. Who cares if she's a Holocaust denier? Let her be a retard. Yeah, let her be a retard. The CEO. Rambler, who is Rambler too? You should man, what a mess. Dixon Ciderbox. Sorry. Dixon Ciderbox. But the women are nice. Nice. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. What is today? Tuesday? I bet you there's another show on today. I think Sousa has his show on today. I don't know for sure. Let me look. 11 a.m. Can the CrossFit Games survive? The Matt Sousa show. Friday, we're going to have a crazy show. You guys want I should show you this guy's Instagram account. Let me find it. You guys can follow him. He had 100,000 Carry the Fire. Is that his Instagram account? He had 100,000 Instagram followers, and then he lost his account. Instagram took it down. This is a fucking wild Instagram account. This thing is wild. This is a wild, wild account. Anyway, the guy who controls this account will be on the show. The horrific realities of war. Me and the boys fighting for our life in Taiwan so Nancy Pelosi can afford bigger tits. God bless Nancy's sweater hams. I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you. It wasn't just Kabul that was a fucking disaster. It was the whole thing, not even just Afghanistan, Iraq too, the whole GWAT. People will sit there and tell you that it was the Biden administration, that Kamala is to blame, sure, maybe for the withdrawal. But they've forgotten that we'd been there for 20 years, 4 presidents, 2 from each party, dozens of generals and politicians and committees, and smoke and mirrors. It was designed to fail. It was meant to be a long, unwinnable war. It was meant for the military-industrial complex and politicians to privatize massive profits while socializing the financial cost to the taxpayer. This is going to be a wild story. Nothing made it clearer than when the platoon sergeant called a meeting early one morning in one of the hangars where the company had set up a makeshift TOC. He told us the NCOs that reporters had launched overnight and that we had to conduct a perimeter sweep for the entire airport. Initially, we thought it was to check for potential infiltration spots given the intel about an imminent attack. But by the end of the brief, we were clear about the intent. We must collect dozens of infants that had been thrown over the walls by desperate parents, their small bodies killed by the heat or the fall. We couldn't allow any reporters to take photographs lest the world witness our failure. We found heavy-duty trash bags and borrowed some gaiters and flatbeds from another platoon. We did it every morning until Abbey Gate. Sometimes the babies had been tangled in the barbed wire. Sometimes we found them still alive in the wall, still alive, and we'll call the DOC. I'll never be able to forget or forgive. We carried bags of dead babies back to the designated building where a small group of NGO workers said they were identifying them for notification of NOK. We exchanged no words. I think both of groups knew it was all BS. After the blasted Abbey Gate, I felt somewhat relieved. The security degraded and the reporters became scarcer. We could stop pretending things were under control or that they ever were. Fucking nuts, right? My legs started shaking a little bit reading that. Yeah, her tits are huge. Pelosi's tits, they're massive. She got massive hammers. Nancy Pelosi breasts. Those things are just fucking crazy. Let me see if I can find a picture of those things. Oh yeah, here we go. Here we go. What year is this? She's 82? How old is she? I'm gonna see some giant 82-year-old hammers. Heads in the sand, Nancy 82 and Paul Pelosi hid an Italian beach resort owned by opera star Andre Bocelli after she met the Pope despite supporting abortion and as he prepares for his DUI trial. Oh, this must be old. Anyway, look at those things. Just gargantuan hammers. Big old juggernauts. Those women look hot. Yep. Okay, bye.